Hey there and welcome back to our YouTube channel Code and Create. My name is George and I run this channel together with my friend Lasha. We've been teaching web development for several years across multiple platforms, helping over 100,000 students worldwide build their skills and create lots of various projects. In today's video, we're going to build a news and blogs application from scratch with ReactJS. This is a comprehensive project that's packed with exciting features and functionalities. You will learn how to fetch data from APIs to display live news updates, create and manage blog posts with a polished interface, implement form validation, save data in local storage, and much more. By building this app, you will gain hands-on experience in solving real challenges developers face when working on interactive, data-driven applications. This isn't just another exercise, it is a chance to create a fully functional project you can showcase in your portfolio. It is designed to impress potential employers or clients by demonstrating your ability to work on robust, scalable, and user-friendly applications. So, by the end of this video, you will have a fully functional and professional web application. Before we begin, I have a small favor to ask. If you find our content helpful, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss future videos. Your support goes a long way in motivating us to keep creating high-quality content, and it helps others discover our tutorials too. Also, if you have any thoughts, suggestions, or questions, feel free to share them in the comments below. We always love hearing from you. Now, let's take a closer look at the project we will be building. I'll walk you through its features and functionalities so you can see everything you will create step by step. Let's dive into the project overview. Our news and blogs application is designed to provide a rich, interactive user experience. The project includes several key sections, each with distinct features and functionalities. Let's explore each section in detail. The news section is the heart of our application, serving as the primary source of information for users. It fetches and displays top news articles from various categories using the GNews API. This ensures that the content is always fresh, relevant, and up-to-date, providing users with the latest news from around the world. By using the GNews API, we can access a wide range of articles from different sources, ensuring diverse and comprehensive news coverage. Users can interact with the news section in multiple ways. They can search for specific news articles using the search bar at the top of the page. This functionality allows users to quickly find articles that match their interests or current events they are following. For example, if a user is interested in the latest developments in technology, they can simply type technology into the search bar and view all relevant articles. This feature is particularly useful for users who have specific news topics in mind and want to find information quickly. In addition to searching, users can select different categories to filter the news articles. The categories available include general, world, business, technology, entertainment, sports, science, health, and nation. Each category represents a different area of interest, allowing users to easily navigate through the vast array of news content. By clicking on a category link, the application fetches and displays articles that belong to the selected category. This helps users to find news that aligns with their interests without having to filter through unrelated articles. For instance, a user interested in sports can click on the sports category to view all the latest sports news, from football match results to athlete interviews and so on. Moreover, the news section is designed to be visually appealing and user-friendly. The fetched news articles are displayed in a grid layout, with each article showing a compelling image, title, and a bookmark icon. The headline article is prominently displayed at the top of the section, catching the user's attention with its large image and title. This layout ensures that users can quickly scan through the articles and find the ones that interest them the most. Each news article tile is designed to be interactive, allowing users to click on them to read more details in a modal that pops up, providing a seamless reading experience without navigating away from the page. The modal includes all the information about the article And also we have here a read more button that allows us to navigate to the article link and read the full article. Additionally, users can bookmark their favorite articles by clicking on the bookmark icon. This feature enables users to save articles they find interesting or wish to read later. The bookmarked articles are stored in the local storage of the browser, making them easily accessible even after the user refreshes the page or closes and reopens the browser. The ability to bookmark articles adds a layer of personalization to the application, making it more user-centric. Overall, the news section is a dynamic and integral part of our application, offering users a streamlined and efficient way to stay informed about the latest news. Whether through searching, category selection, or bookmarking, users have multiple ways to interact with the news content, enhancing their overall experience. The blog section of our application is a flexible feature that allows users to create, edit, and delete their own blog posts. This section provides a personalized space for users to share their thoughts, ideas, experiences, and stories with others. The ability to manage personal blog posts directly within the application adds a significant layer of interactivity and user engagement. Creating a blog post is a straightforward and user-friendly process. Users can start by clicking on the Create New Post button. This action opens a form where users can input the title, content, and an optional image for their blog post. The form is designed to be intuitive, ensuring that even users with minimal technical skills can easily create their own blog posts. The form includes input fields for the blog title and content, with character limits to ensure that the posts are concise and readable. Users can also upload an image to accompany their post, which enhances the visual appeal of their blog entry. Once the user fills out the form and submits it, the application uses the uState hook to manage the state of the blog post. The new blog post is added to the existing list of blogs, and this updated list is stored in the local storage. This ensures that the blog posts are saved even when the user refreshes the page or closes and reopens the browser. The seamless integration of state management and local storage provides a smooth user experience, making it easy for users to create and maintain their blog posts. Editing existing blog posts is just as simple. Each blog post displayed in the blog section includes the edit icon. When a user clicks on this icon, the form used to create a new blog post is populated with the existing data from the selected post. This includes the title, content, and image. The form allows users to make any necessary changes to their post. The ability to edit posts is particularly useful for users who want to update their content or correct any errors. Once the user makes the desired changes and submits the form, the application updates the corresponding blog post in the state and saves the changes to local storage. This ensures that the edited post is immediately reflected in the application and remains persistent across sessions. The editing functionality powered by state management and local storage ensures that the users can easily update their content as needed. Deleting a blog post is a straightforward process that involves clicking the delete icon on the desired post. This action prompts the application to remove the blog post from the state and update the local storage to reflect this change. Deleting a post is immediate, providing users with a clean and organized space for their remaining blog posts. The ability to delete posts gives users control over their content, allowing them to manage their blogs effectively, whether it is removing outdated information or simply organizing their blog list. Users can maintain their blog space according to their preferences. Overall, the blog section is a robust and engaging feature of our application. It not only allows users to create and share their content, but also provides comprehensive tools for managing their posts. The combination of creating, editing, and deleting functionalities, along with state management and persistence through local storage, makes the blogs section a powerful platform for personal expression and interaction. By offering these features, we empower users to take full advantage of the blogging capabilities within our application, enhancing their overall experience and encouraging continuous engagement. Next, we have the weather widget. It is an integral part of our application, providing users with real-time weather updates for specified locations. This feature enhances the application's utility by allowing users to access current weather information directly within the app. The weather widget is designed to be intuitive and visually appealing, offering a seamless user experience. The weather widget fetches weather data from the Open Weather Map API. By default, the widget displays the weather for a predetermined locations, ensuring that users are presented with relevant information as soon as they access the application. This default location is set to Tbilisi, which is the capital of Georgia, but users can easily change it to any location of their choice. The weather data fetched from the API includes several key elements: the current temperature in the specified location presented in degrees Celsius, a brief description of the current weather condition, I mean clear, clouds, rain, and so on, an icon that visually represents the current weather condition, enhancing the user interface and making the information more accessible at a glance. The widget handles the API request and data processing efficiently, ensuring that the weather information is accurate and up to date. When the data is fetched successfully, it is stored in the state using the useState hook, which allows the component to manage and display the weather data dynamically. One of the standout features of the weather widget is its ability to accept user input for different locations. Users can enter any location in the input field to retrieve the current weather for that specific place. This flexibility allows users to check the weather for their current location, travel destinations, or any other place they are interested in. The input field is designed to be user-friendly, with a clear placeholder text guiding users on what to do. When a user types a location and presses enter or clicks the search icon, the widget makes a new API request to fetch the weather data for the specified location. The state is then updated with the new data, and the displayed weather information changes accordingly. In addition to the temperature and weather condition, the widget includes the following features: the name of the location for which the weather is being displayed, ensuring that users are always aware of the context of the weather data. The input field supports real-time search, allowing users to quickly find and display weather information for different locations. If the API request fails or the location is not found, the widget handles the error by displaying a not found message, informing users that the entered location is invalid. Okay, the calendar component is the next part of our application, providing users with a clear and interactive way to view dates. This feature helps users stay organized and plan their activities more effectively. The calendar is designed to be both functional and visually appealing, ensuring a seamless user experience. The calendar component prominently displays the current month and year at the top, giving users immediate context. Below this, the calendar shows all the days of the current month, neatly arranged in a grid format. Each day is represented within its respective position in the week, ensuring a familiar layout for users. The current day is visually highlighted to make it stand out. This helps users quickly identify today's date at a glance, improving the overall usability of the calendar. The days of the week are displayed at the top of the calendar grid. This provides a clear structure and helps users orient themselves within the month. The calendar component includes intuitive navigation features that allow users to move between months seamlessly. This dynamic navigation ensures that users can access past or future dates without any hassle. The calendar updates in real time as users navigate through the months. This ensures that the displayed dates are always accurate and relevant to the selected month. The state management for the current month and year is handled using the useState hook, allowing the component to respond to user interactions efficiently. Alright, so that's all about the project features and functionality. In addition, I would like to mention that the project is fully responsive, ensuring that it works seamlessly across various devices and screen sizes. Whether users are accessing the application on a desktop, tablet, or mobile device, the project adjusts its layout to provide an optimal viewing experience. We have implemented media queries in our CSS to ensure the application adjusts dynamically to different screen sizes. The layout of our application is based on a grid system and CSS Flexbox. This means that elements within the application resize and rearrange themselves based on the screen size. For instance, on larger screens, content may be displayed in multiple columns, while on smaller screens, the content may stack vertically to fit the narrower view. Images and media within our application are designed to scale appropriately with the size of the viewport. This ensures that visuals are neither too large nor too small, maintaining their clarity and impact without overwhelming or underwhelming the user. Font sizes and line heights are adjusted based on the screen size to ensure readability. We use breakpoints in our CSS to apply different styles at various screen widths. These breakpoints correspond to common device widths, such as those for smartphones, tablets, and desktops. Media queries allow us to specify these breakpoints and apply conditional styling rules, ensuring that the application looks great on any device. Before we dive into writing code, it's important to understand why setting up your project correctly is so vital. A good setup can save you a lot of time and headaches down the road. It ensures that you have a solid structure to build upon and that you are using the right tools for the job. So let's get started with the very first step, installing Node.js. To work with the modern JavaScript tools and frameworks, we need Node.js. Node.js is a runtime environment that allows you to run JavaScript code outside of a browser. It's built on Chrome's V8 JavaScript engine and is perfect for building fast and scalable network applications. For us, it's essential because it allows us to use npm Node Package Manager to manage our project dependencies. If you don't have Node.js installed yet, don't worry, the installation process is straightforward. Just go to the Node.js website, download the installer for your operating system, and follow the instructions. Okay, once you installed Node.js, then it's time to introduce Vite. There are a couple of different ways to create a React application. For a long time, the Create React app was the go-to method for setting up a new React project. It provided a quick and easy way to get started with React, but as the ecosystem evolved, it became somewhat outdated and slow. That's why many developers, including myself, have transitioned to using Vite, which offers a much faster and more modern development experience. Now let's talk about Vite. Vite is a modern build tool that provides a fast and lean development experience for modern web projects. It is incredibly fast because it leverages native ES modules and tools like ESBuild for transpilation, making it perfect for a React project. Vite significantly improves the speed of your development workflow compared to traditional tools like Create React App. You can find more information and the official documentation on the Vite website. I recommend taking a quick look to familiarize yourself with its features and benefits. Okay, so I have created a new folder on my desktop called News and Blogs app. This folder is currently empty, and this is where we'll be setting up our React application. To start, let's go ahead and open this folder in Visual Studio Code. You can do the same by going to the top menu and selecting File, Open Folder, and then navigating to your News and Blogs app folder. In order to create a React application, we'll be using the terminal to set up our project. And for this, I'll be using the terminal built into Visual Studio Code. To open the terminal in VS Code, you can simply press Ctrl plus backtick or go to the top menu, View, and select Terminal. Alright, so once the terminal is opened, I'm going to run the following command to create a new Vite project with React. So we need npm create Vite at latest, then news blogs app. Next we need 2 dashes, followed again 2 dashes with template, and finally we need React. Let's go ahead and break down this command. npm create Vite latest tells npm to create a new project using the latest version of Vite. News blogs app is the name of the project folder that will be created. Then we have template followed by React. it specifies that we want to use the React template provided by Vite. After running this command, Vite will set up a new React project for us. So as you can see, a new folder, News Blocks app, is created. Next, we have to navigate into the project directory using cd and the name of the folder, News Blocks app. And now we have to install the project dependencies. This is done by running npm install. Actually, this will take some time. Dependencies are the packages and libraries that our project needs to run. Installing them ensures that everything is set up correctly and we can start working on our application. Finally, we have to run our project in the browser. For that, we have to run the following command. We need npm run dev. It will generate a local URL. We can either copy this link and paste it into the browser tab, or we can simply press Alt and then click the link. So, as you can see, our React application is up and running in the browser. We have here some default icons of Vite and React, which include the links to the websites of these tools. Then we have here some textual elements, and also you can see here a counter that works once we click the button. So this is the default little project that is generated when you create and install the React application using Vite. I'm going to place the editor and the browser side by side, like so, to make our working process more convenient. Alright, now that we have our project set up, let's take a look at the structure of the generated files and folders. First, we have here node modules. This folder contains all the dependencies and packages installed for our project. When we run npm install, it installs everything specified in the package.json file into this folder. It is crucial for the functioning of our app, but we typically don't need to interact with it directly. Next, we have public folder. This folder is used for static assets that can be directly accessed by the browser. Here we can place images, fonts, and other assets that don't change frequently. Right now, this folder includes an SVG icon of the Vite. Next, we have an src folder. This is the main folder where we will be writing our application code. It contains the React components and application logic. Inside src folder, you will find an assets folder that includes an SVG icon for the React. Then you can find here app.css. This file contains the CSS style specific to the app component. While we might not use it extensively, it's a good place to keep styles related to the main layout. Then we have app.jsx. This file contains our main application component. It is a functional component where we will define the layout and structure of our application. Next, we have index.css file. It contains the global CSS styles for our application. These styles are applied across all components and pages. Next, you can find here main.jsx file. This is the entry point for our React application. It initializes the React application and mounts it to the DOM. Typically, it imports React DOM and our root component up.jsx and renders it. Besides that, you can find here index.html file. It is generated outside of the src folder. This file is crucial as it contains the root development where our React application will be mounted. It also includes metadata, links to style sheets, and other critical elements needed by the browser to render the application. Below you can find the configuration file for Vite. This file allows us to customize the build process and configure various settings for our development and production environments. Each of these folders and files has a specific role in the project. Understanding their purpose will help you navigate and organize your code more efficiently. Alright, next we will clean up some of the default files and folders that we don't need. This will help keep our project organized and focused. Here is what we will do. I'm going to delete the React and Vite SVG icons. The first one is placed in the assets folder. As for the icon of the Vite, it is placed in the public folder. Next, I'm going to delete the app.css file from the src folder. Then let's open the index.html file, delete the link of the file icon, and then change the title to News and Blocks app. Now I'm going to open the index.css file in the src folder and clear its contents. We'll be adding our custom styles later. Next, I'm going to open the app.jsx file in the src folder and delete the existing content. Now I'm going to create a new React component using the RAFCE shortcut. This shortcut comes from the ES7 React Redux snippets extension, which helps us quickly generate React component templates. If you don't have this extension installed yet, I highly recommend adding it to your VS Code setup. So, as you can see, a functional component is generated. It returns a single development with the text app, and this text is rendered on the page. After that, in the source folder, I'm going to create a new folder called Components. This is where we will organize all our React components. Let's start by creating a new file inside this folder and call it news.jsx. Then in the app.jsx file, I'm going to import our news.jsx component and render it. In order to render this component, we have to insert news here inside the development. So as you can see right now, the page is empty because the news.jsx file is empty. Let's go ahead and create a functional component using again RAFCE shortcut. Now the content of this component will be rendered on the page. Okay, so this sets up the basic structure of our application. Finally, in the assets folder, I'm going to create another folder called images. Then I'm going to copy all the images you need for the project into this images folder. And that's it. So now I'm going to open app.jsx file in which we have one development, including the news component. Now I'm going to add a class name to the developments. Actually, in React, we use class names, not classes. In HTML, we have only classes, but in React, if you want to add class to the element, you have to use class name. So the class name is going to be container. Then inside the container, I'm going to open another development, which will have class name, news, blocks, app, and I'm going to move news component inside the development. So that's it about the app.jsx file for now. Now I'm going to open index.css file, which right now is empty. As you remember, index.css file is used to create some global and default styles. So I'm going to define some global styles, and global styles help maintain consistency across our entire application. I'm going to select every element, and for that we have to use an asterisk. So I'm going to add here a couple of different styles. The first one is going to be margin 0. Then I'm going to reset default padding as well. Let's set it to 0. Then we will use box sizing, and it's going to be border box. So in this case, the width and height of the element will take up padding and also the border. Next, I'm going to get rid of default outline. Let's set it to none. And also I'm going to set text declaration to none. All right. So again, this CSS rule resets the default browser styling by setting margin and padding to 0, ensuring all elements adhere to the same box sizing, and removing default outlines and text decorations. Now, the next thing that I'm going to do is to add some custom fonts to our project to enhance its visual appeal. Throughout this project, we will use Google Fonts. So I'm going to search for Google Fonts. Let's visit the website. So this is Google Fonts website, where you can find tons of different and beautiful fonts. In our case, I'm going to search for 3 different fonts. The first one is going to be Bebas Neue. Let's select this font. We need to click Get Fonts. Then I'm going to search for the second font. It's going to be Comforta. Let's click Get Fonts. And finally, we need Canit let's click get font. Then we need to click get embed code. And I'm going to import the URL from here. Let's copy URL and paste it in the index.css file. Alright, so once the fonts are linked to our project, now I'm going to define font family. By default, every element will take font called Canit sans serif. Alright, so that's it about the default styles for every element. Let's check the browser. So as you can see, we have here one single element, news, and as you can see, the font family is changed and also all the default styles are applied to this element. The next thing that I'm going to do is to take care of the font size of the HTML element. I'm going to do that because throughout this project, we're going to use rem as the measurement unit. By default, one rem is equal to 16 pixels because the font size of the HTML element, which is a root element, is equal to 16 pixels. I want to convert one rem and make it 10 pixels, and for that we have to decrease the font size of the HTML element. So let's set font size to 62.5%. So in this case, one rem will be equal to 10 pixels, and this will make our working process more convenient and simple. Now if we check the browser, you'll find that the font size of the element is smaller. Alright, so after that I'm going to take care of the container. As you remember, we added class name container to the first development in the app.jsx file. So let's go ahead and select container. First of all, I'm going to define width and height. The width is going to be 100%. As for the height of the container, I'm going to make it 100% of the viewport. Therefore, we need here VH. Next, I'm going to change the background color. And in this case, I'm going to use some gradient effects. Therefore, we need here function called linear gradient. First of all, I'm going to define the direction of the color transition. In this case, it's going to be to right. As for the colors, the first one will be B88EFC. As for the second color, I'm going to use 6877F4. Let's check the browser. So as you can see, we have here nice and cool background with some gradient effects. Alright, next I'm going to place the content in the center of the page. And for that, we can use a couple of different ways. In this case, I'm going to use grid. We need display grid. And then we need place items, center. Instead of grid, we could use here CSS Flexbox. In case of CSS Flexbox, we would need here display flags, justify content center, and align items centered. But in this case, I prefer to use CSS Grid. If we check the browser, then you will find that the content is placed in the center of the page. Alright, so let's go ahead and customize the second development, which has class name news blog app. I'm going to select this element. So first of all, I'm going to define width and height. The width is going to be 95 viewport width. It means that the width of the news blog app element will be 95% of the width of the viewport. Then I'm going to define height, and it's going to be 95 viewport minimum. It is a relative unit in CSS that expresses a value as a percentage of the smaller dimension of the viewport. So let me explain how it works. Imagine a rectangular viewport representing your browser window. The viewport has two dimensions, width and height. Whichever of these dimensions is smaller is considered the viewport's minimum dimension. If your browser window is wider than it is tall, I mean if you have a landscape mode, the minimum dimension will be the viewport height. Conversely, if your window is taller than it is wide, if you have portrait mode, the minimum dimension will be the viewport width. The 95 viewport minimum value in our code instructs the element to take up 95% of this minimum viewport dimension. After that, let's go ahead and define background color. And it's going to be 060709. So here we have the news and blogs app elements with this dark background. Next, I'm going to add some shadow effect to the element. We need box shadow. The values will be 0, 2 rem, 3 rem, and the color will be RGBA. We need black color with an opacity 0.5. So as you can see, we have here nice and cool shadow effect. And the last property that I'm going to add here is going to be border radius. We need to make the corners of the element slightly rounded. So let's set border radius to 1 rem, which will be equal to 10 pixels. Alright, so that's it about the news blocks app element. For now, everything looks pretty nice. Before we finish this lecture, I'm going to do one more thing. Throughout this project, we'll be using some icons, and for that I'm going to use Font Awesome library. So in order to link Font Awesome library, I'm going to search for Font Awesome CDN.js. Let's go to this website and grab the first link from here. I'm going to copy the URL. Then I'm going to open index.html file. In the head element, I'm going to open link tag, and I'm going to insert here the CDN link for Font Awesome library. Alright, so we have set up our basic project structure and added some essential global styles. This will serve as a foundation as we continue to build our News and Blocks app. Before we dive into the code, it's important to understand the importance of a well-structured layout. A good layout not only makes your application look aesthetically pleasing, but also enhances the user experience by making the app easy to navigate and interact with. In this lecture, we'll be focusing on the skeleton of our application and ensuring that each section is properly aligned and styled. Let's take a look at the finished project. So as you can see, we have here a couple of different sections. I mean the navigation. Here we have the news, then my blogs, the weather and calendar. So in this lecture, we will create those sections, and also we will take care of the layout of those sections. So let's go to the news.jsx file. Right now we have here a single div element with the text news. I'm going to get rid of this text, and I'm going to add to the div element class name news. Then inside this div element, I'm going to create header with the class name news header. And right now I'm going to insert here just the text news header. We'll take care of the content in the coming lectures. So that's all about the header. Next I'm going to create div element with the class name news content. And then I'm going to insert here another div with the class name navbar. The navbar will consist of two different elements. The first one is going to be div with the class name user. I'm going to insert here user. As for the second element in the navbar, it's going to be nav with the class name categories. Let's insert here text categories. Alright, so that's it about the navbar. Next, I'm going to create another section, and it's going to be news section. It will include the headline and also news grid. So let's open div elements with the class name headline. Let's insert here text headline. As for the second element, it's going to be again div with the class name news grid. Let's insert here news grid. Alright, so that's it about the news section. Actually, news section is this part here. We have here headline and news grid. Next, we have to take care of the my blogs section. So right after news section, I'm going to open another div, and it's going to be my blogs. Actually, we need here dash. Let's insert here text my blogs. And after that, I'm going to insert weather and calendar. I mean those two sections. Actually, for those sections, I'm going to create new components here in the components folder. Let's create new file, weather.jsx. and also we need calendar.jsx. In both components, I'm going to create functional components using shortcut RAFCE. It's going to be weather. As for the calendar, we need here again a functional component. So once both components are created, now we have to import them here. So we need import weather from weather. Let's duplicate this line of code. We need the same thing for the calendar as well. Actually, we need here capital C. Alright, so now we have to insert here each of those components. We need weather, and then we need calendar. Alright, so that's it. Let's check the browser. As you can see, we have here all the sections: news header, user, categories, headline, news grid, my blogs, and also weather and calendar. The last section that we need to create here is footer. So let's add here footer with the class name news footer, and I'm going to add here text footer. Alright, so that's it. All the sections are created, and now we have to take care of the layout. We have to align those sections here in the news component. So I'm going to create new CSS file here in the components folder, and I'm going to call it news.css, and then I'm going to import this file in the news.jsx file. We need here import, and then we have to specify the path of the CSS file. We need here the name of the file, news.css. Alright, let's go to the news.css file. Actually, I'm going to place this file here on the right side. So the first thing that I'm going to do is to select this element here. I mean this development with the class name news. Let's define the font size. I'm going to make it 2 rem, and also let's change the color, make it white. I'm adding those two styles in order to see clearly the names of the sections. Next, I'm going to define width and height of news. The width is going to be 100%. As for the height, it's going to be 100% as well. Alright, so now we have to take care of the layout of the sections, and I'm going to do that using Flexbox. So as you see, news includes 3 different elements. We have header, then news content, and actually footer should be outside of the news content. Let's cut this element and place it here. So the news element includes 3 different elements: header, news content, and footer. So we're going to align those 3 elements. I'm going to add here display flags. Then we need flags direction to be column, because we have to align the content vertically in a column. Then we need justify content with the value space between. And finally, I'm going to create gap. We need row gap with the value 2 rem. Let's take a look at the result. So as you can see, we have here header. Then in the middle, you can see all the sections which are placed in the news content. And down below, you can see footer. Alright, so everything looks good. Let's go ahead and take care of the news header. Let's select this element. So first of all, I'm going to define width is going to be 100%. Then I'm going to define the minimum height, and I'm going to set it to 7 rem. Then let's change the background color. I'm going to use color 111214. And finally, we need border radius. So in case of news header, we need to make top left and top right corners rounded. For that, we have to insert here 1 rem, then 1 rem, and 2 zeros. Let's take a look at the result. So as you can see, we have here header which has different background color, and also the corners at the top left and top right sides are rounded. Okay, so that's it about the news header. Now I'm going to take care of the news content, which is the content in the middle of the application. So let's go ahead and select news content. And first of all, I'm going to use flexbox. We need display flags. We are using display flags because we need to align the containing elements of the news content horizontally in a row. Next, I'm going to create some gap using column gap. It's going to be 2 rem. I'm going to define height. And here, in case of height, I'm going to use one of the functions called calc, which allows us to make some calculations. So as the calculation, I'm going to insert here 100% minus 16 rem. So the calc function in CSS is a powerful feature that allows us to perform calculations to determine the values of various CSS properties. This can be particularly useful when we need to create responsive layouts or when we want to combine different units of measurement. In the specific context of height, we are using the calc function to dynamically calculate the height of an element based on a combination of percentage and rem units. The 100% part represents the full height of the parent container. This means that the element's height should be equal to the height of its parent. The 16 rem part is a fixed height value in rem units. By combining these two values using the calc function, we effectively subtract a fixed value from the flexible height of the parent container. Using this technique, we define the size of an element so that it fits perfectly in the application. The height of header, news header, is equal to 7 rem. Then we have footer, and its height will be 5 rem. In total, it is 12 rem. And also we have 2 gaps, each of them equal to 2 rem. So overall, we have 16 rem to subtract. Let's add here padding. 0 at the top and bottom sides and 2 rem on the left and right sides. Now, in order to see clearly how news content looks, let's add here temporary background color. Let's say green. So here we have the news content element. Let's get rid of this background color from here and then customize the elements inside the news content. Inside the news content, we have navbar, news section, then my blocks, and weather and calendar components. Actually, we need to add here the wrapper for those 2 components. I forgot to create this element, so we need here weather, calendar, and we should include those 2 components inside here. Alright, so as I said, we have to customize each of the containing elements in the news content. Actually, before we do that, let's customize footer in order to see clearly how news content and its containing elements look. So let's go ahead and select news footer. I'm going to set width to 100%. Then the height is going to be, actually we need minimum height. Let's set it to 5 rem. Then we need again background color and border radius. So in case of footer, we need rounded corners at the bottom left and bottom right corners. Therefore, the values of border radius property will be 0, 0, 1 rem, and again 1 rem. Let's take a look at the project. So here we have the footer, and now we have to customize those sections. Let's go ahead and start with navbar. As you know, it includes 2 elements. We have the user and the categories. So I'm going to add here width equal to 18 rem. Then we need height, which is going to be 100%. Next, I'm going to align the elements, the user and categories, using flexbox. We need display flags. Then we have to change the direction because the element should be aligned vertically in a column. So we need flex direction column. And finally, let's create gap using row gap equal to 2 rem. So right now, almost nothing changed. Now we have to customize those elements separately. Let's start with the user. I'm going to set width to 100%. Then the height is going to be 20%. Also, let's change the background color. And then use border radius with the value 1 rem. So here we have the user with different background and rounded corners. Let's do the same for the categories. Let's select categories. I'm going to set width to 100%. Then the height is going to be equal to, again, calc function. Actually, we need calc. And I'm going to insert here the following calculation. We need 80% minus 2 rem. Then let's grab those two properties and paste them here. Alright, so that's it about the categories, and actually with the navbar we are done. Next we have to take care of the news section, which includes two elements. The first one is headline, and then we have news grid. So let's go ahead and select news section. I'm going to define a width, and now I'm going to use one of the functions called clamp. Let's at first insert the values and then I will explain everything. So clamp function will take three parameters. The first one is going to be 30 rem. Then the second value is going to be 43 CQI. As for the third value, it's going to be 40%. So the clamp function allows you to set a value that falls within a specified range. It takes three parameters and they are separated by commas. The first parameter, 30 rem in our case, specifies the minimum width. If the viewport or parent element size is small, the width will not shrink below this value. The second parameter, 43 CQI, is a preferred width. So this unit is a part of container query length units. If you hadn't heard of them until now, container queries are similar to media queries. However, instead of being based upon the size of the user's viewport, these styles can be changed according to the size of one of the element's parent containers. Now, in the same way that viewport height and viewport width are relative to the size of the viewport, container query units are relative to the size of their container. So CQI stands for container query inline. By default, it is equal to 1% of the container's inline size, and in our case we have 43%. So the second value is used when the viewport or parent element size falls within the range specified by the minimum and maximum functions. However, if the preferred size is greater than the maximum size specified by the third parameter, then the width will be limited to the maximum size. The third parameter, 40%, specifies the maximum width. If the viewport or parent element size is large, then the width will not grow beyond this value. Okay, so hopefully you understand how this function and those three parameters work. Next, I'm going to add here border radius equal to 1 rem, and also we need here height. Let's add it here. Height is going to be 100%. Okay, so that's it about the news section. Here we have the results. Now let's customize both elements, I mean the headline and news grid. Let's select headline. We need width to be 100%. Then we need height. And I'm going to use again calc function. We need here 50% minus 2 rem. Next, I'm going to change the background color. Let's set color to this one. Also, we need border radius equal to 1 rem. So that's the way how headline looks. And the only thing that we have to do with the headline is to create some space between those two elements. So I'm going to add here margin bottom with the value 2 rem. Alright, so that's it about the headline. Let's go ahead and customize news grid. Let's select news grid. I'm going to set width to 100%. Then the height is going to be 50%. And then again we need background color and border radius. Actually, we need to move this code up before the footer. So we are using the similar styles over and over again, but right now we are taking care of only the layout. Then we will add some more styles to those elements. so don't worry about that. Let's take a look at the project. So here we have the news grid. Next we have to take care of my blocks. Let's select this element. I'm going to set width to clump function. The minimum value is going to be 20 rem. Then the preferred size of the width is going to be 27 CQI. And then the third parameter is going to be 28%. Let's set height to 100%. And then again, we need those two properties. So here we have the My Block section. It looks good. And now we have to take care of the weather and calendar. As you know, we created two different components for weather and calendar. And now we have to create two CSS files for each component. So we need here weather.css and then calendar.css. Now we have to import those two CSS files in those components. Let's add here import, and then the path of the file we need here weather.css. Let's open calendar and insert the same thing. We need import calendar.css. Alright, so before we start to write the code inside those CSS files, I'm going to open news.css. As you know, we added here the wrapper weather calendar, which wraps weather and calendar components. So I'm going to select this element. And I'm going to add here flex 1. So the flex property in CSS is a shorthand property for setting the flexible length on flexible items. This property is used within a flex container to specify how the items inside the container should grow, shrink, and be sized. When we use flex 1, we are essentially combining three properties into one. I mean flex grow, which specifies how much a flex item will grow relative to the rest of the flex items inside the same container. Next we have flex shrink. It specifies how much a flex item will shrink relative to the rest of the flex items inside the same container. And then flex basis, which specifies the initial size of the flex item before any growing or shrinking takes place. In the context of our project, weather calendar is a flex item inside the flex container. By applying flex 1, we are instructing it to grow to fill available space. It means that the weather calendar element will grow to take up any available space within the flex container. If there is extra space after the other flex items have been laid out, weather calendar will expand to fill that space. Then we are instructing it to also shrink if necessary. It means that if the flex container becomes too small to contain all flex items at their default size, the weather calendar element will shrink proportionally to prevent overflow. And finally, we are instructing it to initial size of 0. It means that the initial size of weather calendar is 0, but it will grow to fill the available space based on the flex grow value. Hopefully you understand how this property works. Next I'm going to add here display flex. Then we have to change the direction because we have to place both components vertically in the column, so we need flex direction column. And finally we need gap using row gap to run. So right now almost nothing is changed. Now we have to customize both components separately. Before we do that, I'm going to open weather.jsx file and I'm going to add here class name weather. And I'm going to do the same for the calendar as well. Let's add here class name calendar. Then I'm going to open weather.css file and select this element. So I'm going to add here width, it's going to be 100%. Then I'm going to define the minimum width. It's going to be 28 rem. Then change height. I'm going to make the height 45%. Also we need background color. Let's use here color 111214, and then we need border radius equal to 1 rem. Okay, so that's it about the weather. Now let's go ahead and do the same for the calendar. I'm going to grab this code and paste it here. Let's change the class name. It's going to be calendar. So we need width equal to 100%, then the minimum width is going to be 28 rem. As for the height, I'm going to add here calc function. We need 55% minus 2 rem. And actually, I think that's it. Let's take a look at the project. All right, so that's it. All the sections are aligned nicely. We have successfully set up the basic layout of our application and added some initial styling to make it look organized and neat. The header is a crucial part of our application as it often contains important elements like the logo and the search bar. By the end of this lecture, you will know how to create a visually appealing and functional header for your application. Let's go ahead and take a look at the finished project. So here we have the header, which consists of a logo. We have here text, news, and blogs. And then on the right side, you can see the search bar, which includes the search icon. Once we focus on the search bar, then it will grow with smooth transition. Alright, so we will add the content to the header and also we will style this content. Right now, we have here header with just the text. So let's go back to the VS Code and open news.jsx file. Here we have news header. Actually, I'm going to close those two files. We don't need them for now. I'm going to delete the text news header and I'm going to add here h1 heading element with a class name logo. The text is going to be news and blogs. After the h1 heading element, I'm going to open div tag with the class name search bar. Then inside the div element, let's open form. I'm going to get rid of action attribute, we don't need it. Inside the form element, we will have input with type text. Also, I'm going to add here placeholder attribute, and the text is going to be search news. Alright, after the input element, I'm going to create a button. The type of the button is going to be submit. Then inside the button, I'm going to insert a phone awesome icon. We need I element with the classes FA solid, FA magnifying glass. Okay, so I think that's it about the JSX. So we have here a heading, news and blogs. Also the search bar, I mean the input with the search icon. Okay, so that's all about the JSX. Now I'm going to style those elements. Let's go to the news.css file and add some styles to the news header. So I'm going to use CSS flexbox with the display flex. Then we have to align the logo and the search bar. So the logo will be placed at the top left corner. As for the search bar, it should be placed here at the top right corner. So for that, I'm going to add here justify content space between. And also we need to center the elements vertically. For that, we need align items center. Let's take a look. So as you can see, the elements are aligned. We need some space on the left and right sides of the header, and I'm going to create that space using padding. Let's set it to 0 at the top and bottom sides, and then we need 4 rem on the left and right sides. Alright, so that's it about the wrapper, I mean news header element. Next I'm going to customize the logo, which is the H1 heading element. So first of all, let's change the font family. In this case, I'm going to set font to Bebas MUI. It's going to be sans serif. Then I'm going to increase the font size. Let's set it to 5 rem. Also change the color. I'm going to use some gray color. Let's say D. Actually, we need here the pound sign. And finally, let's increase letter spacing. Let's set it to 0.2 rem. Okay, so as you can see, the the heading logo looks pretty nice. Next, we have to take care of the search bar. Actually, we need here double quotes. So now we no longer have here the quotes. So as I said, we have to take care of the search bar. We have to start to styling the input element. So let's select search bar, followed by the input. The first thing that we have to do is to define the size of the input element. The width of the input is going to be 25 rem. As for the height, I'm going to set it to 4 rem. Then let's change the background color. I'm going to use color 060709. Let's check the result. So the background color is changed. We have to get rid of the default border. So I'm going to set border to none. Then I'm going to make the input element rounded using border radius. The value is going to be 5 rem. And also create some space inside the input. The padding is going to be 0 at the top side, then 4 rem on the right side. Next we have 0 at the bottom side and 2 rem on the left side. Okay, so as you can see, the input element looks pretty nice. Next I'm going to change the color. It's going to be gray. Let's type something. So the color is changed. Okay, so the next thing that I'm going to do is to grow the input element smoothly once we focus on the input. So let's go ahead and copy this selector. I'm going to add here focus pseudo class. Once we focus the input element, we have to increase the width. Let's set it to 35 rem. And then in order to make the effect smoother, we need to add here transition, width, and the duration 0.3 seconds. Now let's focus. As you can see, the input is growing, and we have here nice and cool, smooth effect. All right, so the next thing that I'm going to do is to hide the placeholder text once we focus the input element. For that, I'm going to copy this selector. Then I'm going to add here placeholder pseudo elements, and I'm going to make color transparent. So now, once we focus, the placeholder text will hide. Alright, so everything works perfectly. Now we have to take care of the button. This search button. So let's go ahead and select search bar, followed by the button element. First of all, I'm going to change the background color. It's going to be transparent. Next, I'm going to get rid of default border. Let's set it to none. Then I'm going to position the button element. We have to place it here inside the input element. So we need to set position of the button element to absolute. Then in order to position it according to the search bar, we have to select search bar, and we have to add to it position relative. In this case, button will be positioned according to the parent element, which is a search bar. So I'm going to continue styling the button. Next, we need top position. It's going to be 50%. Then we need right position. I'm going to make it 1 rem. Next, in order to center the button element vertically, the perfect centering, we need to add here transform, translate y with the value minus 50%. So here we have the button. It's not quite visible, but it is placed correctly. Now I'm going to change the color. Let's set it to BBB and also increase the font size. I'm going to make it 2 rem. Okay, so I think the button is bigger. Let's decrease the font size, make it 1.8 rem. So now I think that it's much better. Okay, so we have successfully added and styled the content in our header elements. We have created a visually appealing and functional header with a prominent logo and also a user-friendly search bar. The navbar will include user information and category links. This is an essential part of our application because it helps users navigate through different categories of news seamlessly. Let's go back to the VS Code and find navbar. So the navbar consists of two different parts. We have user and categories. First of all, I'm going to add content to the user part. So we need to insert here an image. And then after image, I'm going to add P. I'm in the paragraph with the text Mary's blog. Let's talk a little about working with images in React. Images can be included in your project directory and imported into your components. To display images in React, you need to import the image files and use them within your JSX. As you remember, we store the project images in the images folder, which is placed in the assets folder. So as I said, first we need to import the needed image. I'm going to add here import. Then we need the name of the image. It's going to be user image. We need to import it from the assets folder. So we need to exit the current folder. For that we need two dots and slash. Then we have to access assets folder. Next we need images folder. And we have to select user.jpg. Now, in order to display this image from the JSX, we have to add here curly braces and the name of the image, user image. Also, I'm going to add here a value of the alt attribute. It's going to be user image. Now, let's take a look at the project. So here we have the image, which is too bigger right now and it's placed behind those sections, but we will take care of that in a minute. Next, I'm going to take care of the categories. So I'm going to delete this text from here. Next, I'm going to insert here h1 heading element with the class name navHeading. And I'm going to insert here categories. Then after h1 heading elements, I'm going to open div, which is going to be navlinks. And I'm going to insert here a elements, which will have class name navlink. And the first navlink is going to be general. So overall, we will have 10 different links. Therefore, I'm going to duplicate this link element 9 times. And then quickly change the content. So the second one is going to be world. Then we will have business. The next one will be technology. Then we will have entertainment. Also, we need here sports. Then science. Next one is going to be health. Then we will have nation. And finally, bookmarks. With the last link element, we have to add here a bookmark icon. So I'm going to insert here I elements with the classes FA regular, then FA bookmark. All right, let's take a look. So here we have the link elements and the heading, also the bookmark icon. So now we have to customize those elements. Let's go to the news.css file. And first of all, I'm going to decrease the size of the image. So let's go ahead and select user image. I'm going to set width to 7 rem. Then I'm going to use one of the properties called aspect ratio. Let's set it to 1. So in this case, the width and height will be always the same. Next, I'm going to fit the image using object fit. cover. And finally, let's make the image rounded using border radius with the value 50%. So as you can see, the image became smaller. Now I'm going to add some more styles to the user, which is the wrapper. So I'm going to place the content in the center of the user. Therefore, I'm going to use display flex. Then we need to place the flex items vertically in the column. Therefore, we need flex direction column. And then in order to center the content, I'm going to use justify content center. And also we need align items center. Let's create little gap using row gap equal to 1 rem and also make the cursor pointer. Alright, so that's it about the user, the wrapper element. Now I'm going to customize the paragraph. So let's go ahead and select user P. First of all, I'm going to change the font family. In this case, I'm going to use font called Comforta. As you remember, we have grabbed this font from the Google Fonts website. It's going to be sans serif. Then we need font size. Let's set it to 1.5 rem and also change the color. Make it gray using color DDD. Okay, so that's it about the user. I mean those two elements, image and the paragraph. Let's move on and customize the second part of our navigation. It's going to be categories. So I'm going to add some styles to the wrapper, I mean the categories. Let's add here flexbox. We need display flex. And then again, we have to change the direction because we have to align the elements vertically in a column. So we need flex direction to be column. Then I'm going to create gap using row gap. It's going to be 2 rem, and also I'm going to create some space inside this element using padding. Let's set it to 2 rem on all 4 sides. Okay, so next we have to customize the heading. Let's go ahead and select nav heading. I'm going to change the font family, and in this case, let's use font called Bibas New Yi. It's going to be sans serif. Then I'm going to change the font size, and in this case, I'm going to use clamp function. I hope you remember how this function works. We need 3 parameters. The first one is going to be minimum value 1.5 rem. Then we have the preferred value, and it's going to be 2.5 CQI. As for the maximum value, it's going to be 3 rem. Also, let's change the color. It's going to be DDD. Then I'm going to create some spacing between the letters using letter spacing. Let's set it to 0.2 rem. And finally, I'm going to create some space at the bottom using margin bottom with the value 2 rem. Okay, so as you can see, the heading looks pretty nice. And now we have to take care of the links. So I'm going to select the wrapper development, which is nav links. First of all, let's use flexbox. We need display flex. Then, as you guessed, we have to place the flex items, I mean the nav links, vertically in a column. Therefore, we have to change the direction. It's going to be column. And also, let's go ahead and create row gap with the value 2 rem. Okay, so as you can see, the nav links are placed vertically in a column, and now we have to customize them. Let's go ahead and select link elements using class name nav link. First of all, let's change the font size. It's going to be 1.5 rem. Then we need font weight to be 300. Then I'm going to change the color. Let's set it to DDD. Also, I'm going to make the text uppercase using text transform uppercase. Then I'm going to use letter spacing to create some space. Let's set it to 0.1 rem, and let's take a look at the result. So as you can see, the links look pretty nice. Now I'm going to customize slightly the bookmark icon. So let's go ahead and select nav link followed by the I elements. Let's set the font size to 2 rem. And also I'm going to create a little space between the text, I mean the nav link, and the bookmark icon. So we need margin left equal to 1 rem. Okay, so I think that the icon is too bigger. Let's decrease the font size, make it 1.7 rem. So now it looks nice. Actually, I'm going to center link elements using flexbox. I mean centering vertically. So let's add here display flex and then align items, center, and then let's look at the results. So now we have much better results. Alright, so I think that's it. The navbar is customized and those two parts look pretty nice. So we have successfully added and styled the content to the navbar for our news and blogs application. We've created a user section and a category section, and we've ensured that both look great. This foundation will help users navigate our application easily. This section will display the latest headlines and news articles in a visually appealing grid layout. Let's get started by adding the necessary JSX for our news content in the news.jsx file. So as you can see, we have here news section, which consists of two different elements. The first one is headline. As for the second one, it is news grid. So I'm going to start with the headline. Let's get rid of this text from here. So inside the div elements, I'm going to create an image element, and I'm going to import image from the images folder. Actually, I'm going to duplicate this line of code. So the name of the image is going to be tag image. And then I'm going to change the name of the image. It's going to be tag. Then down below, we have to open curly braces and insert here the name of the image, tag img. Also, let's change the value of the alt attribute. It's going to be headline image. Alright, so let's take a look at the project. Here we have the image of the headline. Next, I'm going to create h2 heading element inside the div. So it's going to be headline title. And now I'm going to insert here some dummy text. Let's use lorem ipsum. So inside the h2 heading element, we need to insert I element, which is going to be bookmark. So we need here classes fa regular, fa bookmark. And besides that, I'm going to add here an individual class name, bookmark. We will use this class in the CSS. Alright, that's it about the headline. Next, I'm going to customize news grid. Let's get rid of this text from here. So inside the news grid, I'm going to open div element, which is going to be news grid item. Overall, we will have 6 different items because we need to display 6 news articles. So the news grid item will consist of images and the headings. So let's open image elements, and I'm going to import a couple of different images. Let's duplicate this line of code 5 times and quickly change the names of the images. So we need sports image. Let's change the name. It's going to be sports. Then we'll have science image. Let's insert here science. The next one is going to be world image. We need here world. Then I'm going to insert here health. And finally, the image is going to be nation, img. Let's change the name. It's going to be nation. Alright, so that's it about the images. Actually, we need here health image. Now let's go back to the news grid items and change here the name of the image. I'm going to use tag image for the first grid item. Let's insert here news image as the value of the alt attribute. Next, I'm going to insert here h3 heading element. Let's insert lorem ipsum text with 5 words. Then we need I elements. Actually, let's grab this element from here and paste it here. Okay, so that's it about the first news grid item. As I said, we will have 6 news grid items overall. So I'm going to duplicate this piece of code 5 times. And then quickly change the images. So the second image is going to be sports. Then we will have science. Then the next one will be world. Then we will have health. And finally, nation. Alright, so actually that's it about the JSX content. So all the elements are displayed on the page. Now I'm going to customize and style those elements. Let's go to the CSS file. First of all, I'm going to make the images smaller. So let's go ahead and find headline. And after headline, let's select headline image. Let's set width and height to 100%. Then I'm going to fit the image using object fit cover. And finally, we need border radius with the value 1 rem. Let's check the headline image. So as you can see, it became smaller and it fits perfectly. Next, I'm going to take care of the images in the news grid items. So let's select news grid item. Actually, we need here dots. And then we need here image. So the width and height is going to be 100% in both cases. Next, I'm going to set display to block. Also, we need object fits, cover, and finally border radius with value 1 rem. Okay, so that's it about the images of the news grid items. Next, I'm going to take care of the title of the headline. So let's go ahead and select this element, headline title. First of all, I'm going to set width to 100%. Next, I'm going to define the position of the element. Let's set it to absolute, and then we need position relative for the parent element, which is headline. So I'm going to add here position relative. We need to position headline title according to the parent element. Next, I'm going to define the bottom and left properties. Both of them will be 0. Then I'm going to create some space inside the title using padding. We need padding 1 rem at the top side, then 4 rem on the right side, 1 rem at the bottom side, and 1 rem on the right side. Next, I'm going to change the font family. In this case, I'm going to use font called BBestNewE, sans serif. Also, let's define the font size. And again, I'm going to use clamp function. So we'll have 3 parameters. The first one is going to be 1.5 rem. It is a minimum value. Then the preferred value is going to be 1.8 CQI. And also we need here the maximum value, 3 rem. Then I'm going to create space between the letters using letter spacing. Let's set it to 0.1 rem and change the color of the text. Let's make it white. Let's take a look at the project. So here we have the heading. I'm going to change its background color. So let's add here background color and use RGBA value. We need black color and the opacity is going to be 0.7. And also let's use border radius. We need rounded corners at the bottom left and bottom right corners. Therefore the values will be 0, 0, 1 rem and again 1 rem. Okay, so the heading looks pretty nice. Next, I'm going to create some space between the bookmark icon and the heading. So I'm going to select bookmark and add here position absolute. We need to position it at the bottom right corner. Next, I'm going to define bottom and right properties. Bottom property is going to be 1 rem. Then the right position is going to be 1 rem as well. And finally, we need cursor pointer. So as you can see, the bookmark icon is positioned. Next, I'm going to decrease the opacity of the headline image. So let's find headline image and add here opacity 0.4. I think now it looks much better. Okay, so that's it about the headline. Now we have to move on and customize news grid. I'm going to add two news grid elements, a couple of different styles. I'm going to align news grid items using CSS grid. So we need here display to be grid. Then we have to define the columns. So we need grid, template columns. So overall we will have 3 columns and each of them will take up even space as a width. So we need a repeat function, then 3 and 1 fractional unit. Let's duplicate this line of code and define rows. So in case of rows we need 2 and then again 1 fractional unit. Besides that, I'm going to create gap equal to 1 rem. Also, let's set padding to 1.2 rem. Let's take a look at the project. So as you can see, the images are placed in 2 rows and we have here 3 columns. Let's add here a couple of more styles. We need justify items, center, and then align items, center. After that, I'm going to take care of the news grid items. So let's go ahead and select this element. We need news grid item. First of all, I'm going to define width and height. We need 100% in both cases. And also I'm going to define minimum height, which is going to be 15 rem. And finally, let's use border radius, make it to 1 rem. Alright, after that, I'm going to take care of the headings in the news grid items. So I'm going to select news grid item followed by the H3 heading element. First of all, we need to define the position is going to be absolute. Then we need position relative for the parent elements, which is news grid item. So let's add here position relative. Then we need bottom and left properties, both of them equal to 0. Let's take a look. So as you can see, the headings are positioned and also we see here the bookmark icons. Next, I'm going to add here some padding. We need 1 rem at the top side, 3 rem on the right side, 1 rem at the bottom side, and again 1 rem on the right side. Next, let's change the font family. Let's use again BBAS Neue sans serif. Then the font size of the heading element is going to be 1.6 rem. Also, let's change the line height, make it 1.4 rem. And let's go ahead and take a look at the results. So the headings look pretty nice. After that, I'm going to change the background color. Let's use again RGBA, this color here. Then as you can see, we have to extend the height in order to cover the entire image. So we need here width to be 100%. Also, we need border radius with the values 0, 0, 1 rem, 1 rem. Now we have much better results. Actually, I think we can make the font a little bit lighter. So let's add here font weight and make it 300. So now as you can see, the headings look much better. And actually, the only thing that we have to do here is to decrease the opacity of the images. Let's set opacity to 0.5. Okay, so I think that's it. We have successfully added and styled the news content section of our news and blogs application. We have used CSS Grid to create a layout for our news items, making it easy for users to browse through the latest articles. This foundation will help us build a dynamic and engaging user experience. This is an exciting step as we will be moving from hard-coded data to dynamic, live data. By the end of this part, our headline and news grid will be populated with the latest news articles fetched from the API. Before we dive into fetching the news data, let's take a moment to understand the GNews API, which will be the backbone of our news fetching functionality. GNews API is a powerful, easy-to-use RESTful API that provides access to a vast array of news articles from various sources around the world. It allows developers to fetch news data in a structured format, making it ideal for integrating into applications like our News and Blogs app. With GNews API, you can access the latest headlines, search for articles by keywords, and filter news by categories. Now let's talk about the key features of GNews API. It provides the latest headlines. You can fetch the most recent news articles from the various categories such as general, world, business, technology, entertainment, sports, science, health, and nation. Next we have search functionality. You can search for news articles using specific keywords to get relevant articles. GNews API also provides filtering feature. You can filter news by language, location, and other parameters to tailor the results to your needs. And finally, it has a rich metadata. Each news article comes with detailed metadata, including the title, description, URL, image, and publication date, making it easy to display comprehensive news information in your application. GNews API works by exposing several endpoints that you can call using HTTP requests. For example, you can fetch the latest headlines from a specified category. You can search for news articles based on a query keyword and so on. So here is the documentation on how it works and how you can use it. So I encourage you to look into this documentation. GNews API is not completely free. You have 100 requests for free per day. Once you reach the limit, then you have to upgrade your plan. 100 requests per day might not be enough while building this project, so you can start the trial 10 days period and then cancel it. If you start your trial period, don't forget to cancel it after 10 days because you will be charged. Well, if you don't upgrade the plan and use just free 100 requests per day, please keep in mind that the application won't work once you exceed the limit. It will continue to work the next day after 24 hours. In not working the application, I mean that you won't be able to make the requests. Alright, so the first thing that you need to do is to register on that website. It is a very simple process, so I'm not going to go through it. Let's go ahead and register on that website. Before we start fetching news data from the GNews API, we need to understand the tool that we will use to make this HTTP request. So I'm going to talk about Axios, a popular JavaScript library for making HTTP requests. Axios is a promise-based HTTP client for the browser and Node.js. It is designed to handle HTTP requests and responses in a clean and efficient manner. Axios provides a simple and powerful API for making HTTP requests, making it a favorite among developers for tasks such as fetching data from APIs, submitting forms, and interacting with backend services. Now let me talk about the key features of Axios. Axios uses promises which allow for cleaner and more manageable asynchronous code. This makes it easy to handle responses and errors. It automatically transforms JSON data, making it easy to work with JSON responses. Axios allows you to intercept requests or responses before they are handled by then or catch, which is useful for tasks such as adding authentication tokens. It simplifies error handling by providing detailed error messages and response data. Axios provides labels for common HTTP methods such as get, post, put, delete, and more, simplifying syntax. So here's the website where you can look into the documentation of Axios and learn about this tool. Before we finish this lecture, I'm going to install Axios using npm. Let's go ahead and open a new terminal and run npm install Axios. Alright, so we successfully installed Axios. Also, we introduced the GNews API, and now we are ready to fetch some real-time data. So we need to insert here import Axios from Axios. Next, in order to manage the news data, we have to create a state. And as you remember, state in React is a built-in object that allows components to create and manage their own data. We have to create state inside the news. So we need here headline, and then the setter function, set headline. It should be equal to useState, and by default I'm going to set headline to null. Once we used here the useState, it was imported from React automatically. If you don't see here useState, then please import useState manually from React. Alright, so this is the state variable that holds the current value of our headline data. Initially it's set to null. Also we have here set headline function. This is the state setter function that we use to update the headline state. We create this state to hold the main headline news article. Typically, the headline is the most important or latest news article that we want to feature prominently. By storing it in a separate state, we can easily manage and display it independently from the rest of the news articles. Alright, so now we have to create another state for news. I'm going to duplicate this line of code. Let's insert here news and then set news. By default, it's going to be equal to an empty array. News is the state variable that holds the current value of our news data. Initially, it's set to an empty array. Next, we have setNews function, which is the state setter function we use to update the news state. We create this state to hold the list of news articles that we fetch from the GNews API. Since we will be displaying multiple news articles in a grid, it's practical to store them in an array. As we fetch the news data, we will update this state to reflect the latest news articles. Next, we have to use the useEffect hook to handle the side effect of fetching data when our component mounts. As you remember, the useEffect hook lets us perform side effects in our function components. In this case, our side effect is fetching news data from the GNews API. So I'm going to create useEffect. We have to pass here an arrow function. And also we need to pass here second parameter. It's going to be an empty array. So as you can see, useEffect is automatically imported from React. So the useEffect hook takes two arguments, a function and a dependency array. The function contains the code we want to run as our side effect, and the dependency array determines when the effect should run. By passing an empty array, we tell React to run this effect only once, after the initial render of the component. This is perfect for our data fetching scenario, as we only need to fetch the news once when the component mounts. Inside the useEffect hook, we have to define an asynchronous function. This function will handle the process of fetching news data from the API. By defining it as an asynchronous function using the async keyword, we can use await to handle asynchronous operations, making our code cleaner and easier to read. So, as I said, we have to create a function. Let's call it fetchNews. It's going to be an arrow function. And as I said, we have to add here async keyword. The async keyword before a function declaration indicates that the function will operate asynchronously. This means that it can pause execution to wait for an asynchronous operation to complete without blocking the execution of other code. Next, we have to construct the URL for the API request. I'm going to go to the GNews API documentation. So here we have top headlines endpoint, and below you can see the URL. I'm going to copy this URL, then go back to the VS Code, create new variable. It's going to be URL, then open template literals and paste here the URL. So this is our URL, and now I'm going to test this URL and see the response that we get from the HTTP request. In order to do that, I'm going to use one of the VS Code packages called Thunder Client. This package allows us to make the HTTP requests and get the responses in JSON format. So I'm going to click this icon here and then new request. If you don't have Thunder Client, I recommend to install this package and use it. So I'm going to paste our URL here, then click send, and here we go. We have here the response in JSON format. Actually, the response is in different language, so I cannot read the articles. In order to change the language, I'm going to add here one parameter. So here, after ampersand, I'm going to insert lang equal en, and then again we need an ampersand. So now if I click send, then we will get the response in English language. So as you can see, we have here the articles. Each article has title, description, content, also URL, image, the date of the publication, and so on. So that's the response in JSON format. Now I'm going to go back to the news.jsx file and customize the URL. I'm going to add here lang parameter equal to en. You can change the language and use any of the languages you want. I prefer English. All right, now I'm going to create another variable. It's going to be response, and it should be equal to await axios.get, and we have to pass here URL. So this single line of code is crucial in the process of fetching data from an API. Let's break it down step by step, explaining both what it does and why it's important. The await keyword is used to pause the execution of an async function until the promise returned by axios.get is resolved. Essentially, await makes the function wait for the response from the server before proceeding to the next line of code. This is important because HTTP requests are asynchronous operations that might take some time to complete, depending on factors like network speed and server response time. The get method of Axios is used to send a get request to the specified URL. A get request is typically used to retrieve data from a server. The URL variable contains the endpoint to which the request is sent. In this case, it is the URL for fetching top headlines from the GNews API. As for the Axios, you already know what it is. Alright, so now I'm going to show you response in console. I'm going to insert here response. And in order to log the response in the console, we have to call fetch news function. Let's add here fetch news. Now go to the browser and inspect the page. Go to the console. So as you can see, we have here an object which consists of several properties. We have here data, then articles. It is an array. We have here 10 different articles. Each article has title, content, description, image, URL, and so on. So that's the way how our response looks. Let's go back to the VS Code. Now I'm going to create another variable, and it's going to be fetched news. Actually, we need here fetched news. It should be equal to response. Then we have to access data, which includes articles. So we need here response.data.article. Now if I insert here fetched news, let's go to the browser and check the console. So we have here undefined. We might have some mistake. We have here fetched news, response data, article. Actually, we need here articles, not article. Now it should work. Let's open console, and here we go. We have here an array which includes 10 different articles. All right. So now we have to update the headline state variable we need to display the first article from the array as the headline. So if I insert here index number 0 and then check again console, we will get the first article from the articles array. Alright, so as I said, we have to update headline. Therefore, we need to run set headline function. And then we have to insert here fetch news with the index number 0. Now we have to update the JSX. Let's go down and find headline. So here we have headline. Now instead of the hard-coded data, we need to add here a dynamic one. So instead of this image, I'm going to add headline dot image. Then instead of the value of alt attributes, I'm going to insert headline dot title. Once again, we have those properties here. As you can see, we have the title, then image. So those values are used here in JSX. Okay, so now instead of this lorem ipsum dummy text, let's insert here headline dot title. Okay, let's go back to the browser. So as you can see, we have here headline with its title and the image. Now if I reload the page, then we will get here an error which says that cannot read properties of null. So in order to fix that problem, first we need to make sure that the headline exists. So we need to use a conditional rendering. Here before headline, I'm going to open curly braces and then check if headline exists or not. We need headline followed by the AND operator, and then we have to place this entire code inside the parentheses. Now, as you can see, we no longer have here the error and everything works fine. Okay, so now we have to take care of the news in the news grid. As you know, by default we display 6 articles. The fetch news array provides 10 articles, so we need to grab the portion of an array and display it. I mean 6 articles. As you know, the first article is displayed as the headline, therefore we should grab the first 6 articles after the first article. So we have to update the news. As you know, we have state news with set news function. We have to update news using set news function. And inside here, I'm going to insert fetched news followed by the slice method. This is an array helper method, and it should take 2 parameters, arguments, 1 and 7. So in JavaScript, the slice method is used to extract a section of an array and return it as a new array without modifying the original array. The slice method takes 2 parameters. The first one is start index, the position at which to start extraction. It is inclusive. And then end index, the position at which to end extraction. It is exclusive. So we extract a portion of the news array starting from index 1 up to but not including index 7. We start at index 1 because typically index 0 of the news array is used for the headline article. By starting from 1, we exclude the headline from the list of articles that will be displayed in the news grid. We end at index 7 to get a total of 6 articles for the news grid. The end index is exclusive, meaning the element at index 7 is not included in the news array. Therefore, the articles at indexes 1 through 6 are included, which gives us 6 articles. Now, if we run in the console news and check the results, we will get here array with 6 articles. Alright, so everything works fine. Now we have to display those 6 articles here in the news grid. Let's go back to the VS Code and update the JSX. So here we have 6 hard-coded news grid items, and now we will change this data into dynamic data. Right before news grid item, I'm going to open curly braces. Then we have to insert here the following code. We need news.map. I will explain everything in a minute. We need to insert here a callback function with 2 parameters, article and index. So here map function allows us to iterate through the news array and return a new array. We have here two parameters, article and index. Article represents the current elements, I mean the news article in the iteration. As for the index, it represents the current index of the elements in the news array. Now we have to grab news grid item and paste it here. Next, we have to make here some changes. We need to add key attribute to the div element, and we have to pass here index. Next, we have to change image. We need here article.image. As for the alt attributes, I'm going to insert here image. Actually, not image, but article title. As for the content of the h3 heading element, we have to insert here article.title. Okay, so let me explain what's going on here. So we inserted here a div element with a unique key prop. The key prop is required by React to uniquely identify each element in the list for efficient updates and rendering. Next, we change the source of the image. We need here article image, and then we changed alt attribute. We need article title, and also we need article title instead of the hard-coded title in the h3 heading element. Okay, now I'm going to get rid of those hard-coded news grid items. Let's delete those elements. We no longer need them. Let's go to the browser, and here we go. We have here 6 different news articles from the GNews API, and also the headline is displayed here. Now we have here the news from the general category. We can change this category here. Instead of general, I'm going to insert sports and then check the results. So now we have articles from sport category. Next, we can insert here technology. And as you can see, we have here the articles from the technology category. All right. So before we finish this lecture, I want to do one more thing. If for some reason the image of the article is not provided, then we should display some default image that will tell us that there is no image available. Actually, I have already stored such image in our images folder. We have here no image, this one. So in order to handle this feature, first of all, we need to import this image. Actually, we no longer need those images, so I'm going to delete them. Then I'm going to duplicate this line of code. I'm going to call image no image. And then let's insert here the name of the image. It is no image, and the extension is PNG. So now we have to iterate over each article and check if the article does have the image. If yes, then the article image will be rendered. If not, then we will render our default image. So here, right before set headline function, I'm going to insert the following code. We need fetch news, followed by for each method, which is an array helper method, and it allows us to iterate through the array. So I'm going to insert here a callback function with the parameter article. And then inside this function, I'm going to use if statement where we should check if article.image exists or not. We need here not article.image. If this condition is true, then the image of the article should be no image. So we need here article.image equal to no image. So again, if this condition is true, it means that for some reason we don't have article image and we have to display this image here. Now let's go down and update the JSX. So here, after headline.image, we need or operator followed by no image. And then down below, we need the same thing. We need here no image. So if the image of the article or the headline doesn't exist, then the no image will be rendered on the page. Now we're going to take it a step further by fetching news articles according to different categories. This will allow our users to view news specific to their interests, whether it is technology, sports, health, or any other category. Okay, so first let's start by updating the news.jsx file to fetch news according to categories. We will use the GNews API for this task, which supports fetching news by categories as well. Now we have to define an array of categories that we will use to fetch news based on different topics. So right after importing Axios, I'm going to create a variable. Let's call it categories. As I said, it's going to be an array. And now I'm going to insert here categories starting from general. Then we will have world. Next, we will have business. Then the next one is going to be technology. Then we will have entertainment. Then the next category is going to be sports. Then we will have science. Then the next one will be health. And finally, we need here nation. Okay, so that's the categories. Actually, by default, I'm going to display the general category. So let's change technology into general. After that, I'm going to create new state here after news. It's going to be selected category. Then we need setter function, set selected category. And it's going to be equal to useState. And as I said, by default, we need general. So we created a state variable, selected category, to keep track of the currently selected category. This will allow us to dynamically fetch news articles based on the selected category. Now in the useEffects function, as you remember, we have dependency array, which is empty. I'm going to insert here selected category. So by including selected category in the dependency array, we ensure that the fetch news function is called every time the selected category changes. This allows us to dynamically fetch news articles based on the currently selected category. React will rerun the effect whenever selected category changes. This ensures that our application is always displaying the most up-to-date news articles for the selected category. Including selected category in the dependency array prevents the useEffect hook from running unnecessarily. Without it, the effect would run on every render, which is not efficient and could lead to performance issues. So if we didn't include selected category in the dependency array, the useEffect hook would either run only once. If the dependency array is empty, the effect would only run once when the component mounts and never again. This means the news articles would not update when the category changes. Or the useEffect hook would run on every render. If we omit the dependency array entirely, the effect would run on every render, which can lead to unnecessary network requests and degrade the performance of our application. Alright, so now we have to create a function that will allow us to update the selected category when a user clicks on one of the category links. This function will be responsible for setting the new category and ensuring that the news articles displayed are relevant to the selected category. Let's go ahead and create new function right after useEffect function. I'm going to call the function handle category click. It's going to be an arrow function which will take two parameters, e, which is the event object, and then category. Now inside here we need e.prevent default, and then after that I'm going to update selected category using set selected category function, and I'm going to insert here category. So this function takes two parameters, e, which is event object, and category. The e parameter represents the event object, which is automatically passed when an event occurs, and category is the specific category that the user clicked on. The first line inside the function e.preventDefault. This is a crucial step. Normally, when we click on a link, the default behavior is for the browser to navigate to the URL specified in the hrefs attribute. Since our category links are not meant to navigate to a new page, but instead update the content dynamically, we use e.preventDefault to stop this default behavior. The next line is setSelectedCategory. Here we are using the setSelectedCategory function, which is provided by the useState hook, to update the selected category state variable. By passing the category parameter to this function, we are effectively setting the selected category state to the category that the user clicked on. This change in state will trigger a re-render of the component and also refetch the news articles for the newly selected category. So in summary, the handleCategory function is designed to handle the user's interaction with the category links. It prevents the default navigation behavior of the link, then updates the selected category state with a new category. This ensures that our application responds dynamically to user input and displays the relevant news articles without navigating away from the current page. Now we have to generate the category links dynamically from the categories array. I'm going to update the JSX code so that it would be responsible for rendering each category as a link and handling the click event to update the selected category. So let's go ahead and find categories. Here we have it. Now, right before the link element, I'm going to open curly braces where we should insert categories.map. Then we have to pass here a callback function with the parameter category. So we start by using the map function on the categories array. This method iterates over each element in the array, and for each element, in this case each category, it returns the JSX code inside the map method's callback function. So here I'm going to pass this link. Then I'm going to add to the link attribute called key, in which I'm going to insert category. Next, I'm going to add here an onClick event handler, where we should insert a function with event object, and then we have to pass here handle category click function with two arguments, events and category. So let me explain what those attributes do. First, we have here hrefs attribute. This sets the link's hrefs attribute to £. This is a placeholder link, and since we are using e.preventDefault in our click handler, the browser won't actually navigate anywhere when the link is clicked. Then we have key with value category. The key attribute is essential in React for identifying each element uniquely. Here we are using the category name as the key because each category name is unique. Then we have class name, and then finally we have onClick event handler. When the link is clicked, the handle category click function. When the link is clicked, the handle category click function is called with the event object and the current category as arguments. Next, we have to display the category name dynamically. So instead of general, we have to insert curly braces and then category. All right, so now we no longer need those links except the last one. So let's delete them. Now let's go to the browser and check if everything works fine. Let's click the categories. So the links don't work. Let's inspect the page. Check the console tab. I'm going to reload the page and then check console. So we don't have here errors. Actually, let's go back to the VS Code. So here everything looks correct. Let's check the function. Now everything's correct. Okay, so now I guess what's the problem? As you can see, we have here hard-coded category name general, so we don't need that. Let's delete. Then I'm going to insert here $, followed curly braces, and As you guessed, we have to insert here selected category. Now it should work. Let's click world, and here we go. So as you can see, we are getting news from the specified category. Everything works perfectly. Alright, so great job. We have successfully implemented dynamic fetching of news articles based on the selected category. Now our application is much more interactive and provides users with the ability to view news articles specified to their interests. To begin, we need to create two pieces of state, one to hold the user's input from the search bar, the search input, and another to hold the search query. This distinction will help us manage the search process efficiently. So the first state variable is going to be search input, and then we need setter function set search input. It's going to be equal to useState, and as the default value, I'm going to pass here an empty string. Next, I'm going to duplicate this line of code. The second state variable is going to be search query. Then we need setter function set search query. As for the default value, it's going to be an empty string as well. So again, here we have created two pieces of state. Search input holds the current value of the search bar as the user types. Search query will hold the value that we actually use to fetch data from the API when the user submits the search form. This distinction allows us to control the timing of our API requests more precisely. By adding these states, we can track what the user types in the search bar and use that value to fetch news articles from the API. Next, we have to update the useEffect hook. Inside the fetchNews function, we have to dynamically set the URL based on whether search query is present. If it is, we query the API using the search term. Otherwise, we fetch top headlines for the selected category. So we need to change the const declaration into let. Next, we have to create if statements, and the condition is going to be search query. So if it is true, then we have to update the URL. Let's go to the browser and visit the Gnews API. So we have to search for search endpoint, and we have to grab this URL from here. Let's open template literal and paste the URL. Now I'm going to modify this URL slightly. So instead of hard-coded example, I'm going to insert here the state variable search query. Also, we need to add here language English. Alright, so here we want to determine whether the user has entered a search query or not. If search query is not empty or null, it means the user is performing a search, and we need to fetch news articles based on this search term. This line inside the if statement, this line here, constructs a new URL for the API request using a template literal. The search query variable that we inserted here holds the user's search term, and by including it in the URL, we can query the Gnews API for articles that match this term. The URL is specifically pointing to the search endpoint of the Gnews API. This endpoint is designed to return news articles based on a search query. Okay. Besides that, we have to include the search query in the dependency array. Here. Let's insert search query. This means that whenever search query changes, when the user performs a new search, the useEffect hook will rerun, fetching news articles based on the new query. Now we need to create a function to handle the form submission for our search. This function will prevent the default form submission behavior, set the search query state with the user's input, and clear the search input field. So I'm going to create new function, and it's going to be handle search. It's going to be an arrow function. I'm going to insert here an event object. So we need this object to prevent the default form submission behavior and to access the user's input. So first of all, we need here e.prevent defaults. By default, when a form is submitted, the browser refreshes the page. This is not the behavior we want in a single page application like ours. Calling prevent default method stops the form from submitting in the traditional way, allowing us to handle the submission entirely with JavaScript and React. After that, we need to use set search query function in order to update search query. And as the value, I'm going to pass here search input. So the set search query function updates the search query state variable with the current value of search input. Search input holds the text that the user has typed into the search bar. By setting search query to this value, we are effectively updating our state to reflect the user's search term. This updated state will then be used in our useEffect hook to fetch news articles that match the search query. Next, we have to make the search input empty. Therefore, we need set search input, and we have to insert here an empty string. So again, this function sets the search input state variable to an empty string. After the user submits their search query, we want to clear the search bar. This provides a better user experience by giving a visual indication that the search has been submitted. It also prepares the search bar for a new search input. So again, this function ensures that we handle the form submission smoothly without causing a page reload. This is crucial for maintaining the fluid user experience of a React application. By updating the search query state, we trigger the useEffect hook that fetches the relevant news articles based on the user's search term. This dynamic behavior allows our app to respond to user input in real time. Clearing the search input after submission gives immediate feedback to the user, indicating that their search has been registered. It also makes the search bar ready for the next search query. Okay, so now it's time to update our JSX. Let's go ahead and find the form. Here we have it. I'm going to add here onSubmit event handler, and I'm going to insert here handle search function. Actually, we need handle search. So again, we add to the form the onSubmit event handler with the value handle search, which is the function that we created. This attribute specifies that the handle search function should be called when the form is submitted. By doing this, we prevent the default form submission behavior and handle the submission using our custom function. By setting onSubmit to handle search on the form element, we ensure that the form submission is handled by our handle search function. This allows us to manage the search functionality within our React component without causing a full page reload. Now we have to add some attributes to the input element. So we have here type text, placeholder, search news. The next attribute is going to be value. And we have to insert here search input. Actually, we need search input. And besides that, I'm going to add here onChange event handler, where we should insert a callback function with an event object. And then we have to call set search input setter function, I mean the updater function, and as the value I'm going to insert here e.target.value. So here we bind the input value to the search input state and set up an event handler for changes. This way, whenever the user types something into the input field, the search input state is updated to reflect the current value of the input. Binding the input's value to the search input state variable and updating the state on every change allows us to keep track of what the user is typing in real time. This is essential for controlled components in React, ensuring that the input field's value is always in sync with the component state. Alright, so let's go to the browser and test how it works. I'm going to search for, let's say, ReactJS. So here we go. We have here news related to ReactJS. Next, I'm going to search for, let's say, web development. So here we go. We have here the articles about. All right, so the search functionality is added to our application. So I want to add one more thing to our search bar. Actually, once we mouse over the icon, I would like to change the cursor and make it pointer. So let's go ahead and search for search bar. Then we need button. Let's add here cursor pointer. Okay, so everything works fine. We have successfully added search functionality to our news app. Now users can search for specific news articles by entering keywords into the search bar. This makes our app much more dynamic and user-friendly. This modal box will display detailed information about a news article when a user clicks on a headline or a news grid item. So right now I'm showing you the finished version of our project. If I click the article, then the modal box will open. Here we have the detailed information about the article, and down below you can see the read more button. If I click it, then we'll navigate to the article link and we'll be able to read the entire article. Okay, so that's the way how modal box work in our finished version. First of all, we will create a news model component, then we'll generate hard-coded JSX content, customize and style it, and after that we'll make the modal box work dynamically. I mean, we'll manage to open it once the user clicks either headline or news article in the news grid. So, as you can see, if I click any of the articles in the news grid, then the modal box appears. Okay, so let's go back to the VS Code, and as I said, we have to create new component in the components folder. Let's call it news model.jsx. I'm going to create a functional component using again RAFCE shortcut. So as you can see, the functional component is created. Then let's go back to the news.jsx file and import this newly created component. We need here import news model from news model. And then down below, right after news grid, I'm going to nest news model. Okay, so let's go to the news model.jsx and start to create the JSX content. I'm going to get rid of this text from here. Then let's add class name to the first development. It's going to be model overlay. Then inside the development, I'm going to create another div, and it's going to be model content. Actually, we need here dots. Inside the developments, I'm going to create span with the class name close button. It's going to be X closing button, and inside the span element, I'm going to insert a font awesome icon. Let's open I element with the class names FA solid, FA X mark. Actually, we don't need here the equal sign. It's going to be dash. Okay, so as you can see, we have here I element. Let's check the browser. So as you can see, we have here an X closing button. Next, I'm going to create image element after the span. So in this case, I'm going to import one of the images from our images folder. Let's import demo image from, we need to exit current folder, then access assets folder, then we need images folder, and the name of the image is going to be demo.jpg. So now, as the value of the source attribute, we need curly braces, and we have to insert here the name of the image, demo image. Also, let's change the alt attribute. We need here, let's say, model image. Okay, let's check the browser. So here we have the image. After that, I'm going to create couple of different elements. So we need h2 heading element with the class name model title. And as the title, I'm going to insert here some lorem ipsum dummy text, let's say lorem 10. Then after h2 heading element, we need paragraph with the class name model source. Then we need source, and as the source, I'm going to insert here the guardian. Again, it is a hard-coded data. We'll change it with a dynamic one. After the source, we need to display the date. So we need paragraph with the class name model date. And the date is going to be, let's say, June 24, then 2024. And the time is going to be, I don't know, 4:15 p.m. Okay, after that, I'm going to insert another paragraph, and it's going to be model content text. Let's insert here again lorem ipsum dummy text with 35 words. So as you can see, the paragraph is generated. All right, after the paragraph, I'm going to create the last element, and it's going to be read more button. I'm going to use link elements with the class name read more link. And as the text, let's insert read more. Okay, so as you can see, the JSX content is created, and actually the layout of the application is messed up. We'll take care of that in a minute. So I'm going to style and customize those elements. Let's go ahead and create new CSS file. I'm going to call it news model.css. Then I'm going to move this file here on the right side. Also, we need to import CSS file here in the news model.jsx. Let's import news model.css. Alright, so now we're ready to customize those elements and style them. Let's go ahead and select the first development, which is model overlay. I'm going to set its position to fixed. Then I'm going to use property called inset and add here the value 0. It means that we use here 4 positions, I mean top, right, bottom and left positions, and all of them is set to 0. So that's the way how inset property works. After that, I'm going to change the background color. Let's use RGBA value. We need here black color, and the opacity is going to be 0.7. Let's check the result. So as you can see, the background is changed, and also the element is extended to the entire page. That's why I used here inset 0. After that, I'm going to place the content in the center. For that, I'm going to use flexbox. So we need display flex. And then in order to center the content, we need to use justify content center and also align items center. Okay, after that, I'm going to use the index property because we need the entire content to be behind the model. So let's add the index and assign to it the maximum value, which is 1000. Okay, so that's it about the model overlay. I'm going to customize model content. So let's select this element, and first of all, I'm going to define width and height. The width is going to be 90%. Besides that, I'm going to define max width, and the max width is going to be 60 rem. Then I'm going to set height to auto, and also let's define max height, and I'm going to set it to 100%. Let's change the background color. Let's use here color 111214. Okay, so as you can see, the model looks much better. It is placed in the center of the model overlay. I mean in the center of the page, because model overlay is extended to the entire page. After that, I'm going to create a little space inside the model using padding. Let's set it to 4 rem. on all four sides. Then we need to make the model rounded using border radius. The value is going to be 1 rem. Also, let's create some shadow using box shadow. The values will be 0, 0, 5 rem, then 4 rem. As for the color, I'm going to use RGBA, black color with the opacity 0.5. Okay, so after that, I'm going to take care of the close button. So let's go ahead and select this element, close button. Actually, yes, the class name is close button. So first of all, I'm going to define the position. It's going to be absolute. Then we need position relative for the parent element, because we have to position X closing button according to the parent element. So we need here position relative. Then the top position of the button is going to be 1 rem. As for the right position, I'm going to make it 2 rem. Also, let's increase the font size. I'm going to make it 2 rem. Then change color, make it white, and also make the cursor point. Okay, so the X closing button is positioned. Next, we have to take care of the image, because right now it is too bigger and it is partially placed outside of the model. So let's go ahead and select model image. The width is going to be 100%. Then the height will be auto. Also, I'm going to define maximum height. Let's set it to 30 rem. Then we need to fit the image in order to maintain its quality. Let's set it to cover. Then I'm going to make it rounded using border radius with the value 1 rem. And finally, let's decrease the opacity. Let's set it to 0.5. So the image is not styled. Let's check the code. Actually, we are missing here the class name. It's going to be model image. I forgot to assign to it the class name attribute. So now it should work. Okay, so as you can see, the image looks pretty nice. Actually, we don't have here the border radius. We need here border radius, not border. Now the corners are rounded and the image looks pretty nice. Alright, so now I'm going to take care of the rest of the elements. We need to select model title. Let's go ahead and select model title. Define font family. It's going to be Bebas Neue sans serif. Then I'm going to set the font size to 2 rem. Also change the color, make it white. Then I'm going to use letter spacing with the value 0.1 rem. And finally, let's create space at the top. I mean, we need to use margin top with the value 2 rem. Okay, so the heading looks pretty nice. Next, we have to take care of the paragraphs. So I'm going to select model source and model date together. So we need model source, then model date. We need the similar styles for both elements. Let's add here dots. So first of all, let's define the font family. I'm going to use Comforta sans serif. Next, I'm going to define the font size. It's going to be 1.4 rem. Also change the color. I'm going to use light gray color. I mean color BBB. And then I'm going to create some space at the top using margin top with value 1 rem. Okay, so as you can see, the paragraphs, I mean the source and the date, look pretty nice. Next, we have to take care of the text. I mean the third paragraph, this element here. Let's go ahead and select model, content, text. Let's set font size to 1.6 rem. Then we need again space at the top side using margin top 2 rem. Then change line height, set it to 2.7 rem, and finally change the color. I'm going to use color DDD. Okay, so that's it about the third paragraph, the text of the model. Next, I'm going to customize the last element of the model. It's this link here, the read more button. So I'm going to go ahead and select read more link. First of all, let's define width. It's going to be 15 rem. Then I'm going to make the element inline block in order to apply the styles such as width, margin, and so on. Next, I'm going to define the background, and in this case I'm going to use linear gradient function. So the direction of the color transition is going to be to right. As for the colors, I'm going to add here B88 EFC. As for the second color, it's going to be 6877 F4. Okay, so here we have the gradient effect. Next, I'm going to create some space at the top using margin top. The value is going to be 2 rem. Next, I'm going to create some space inside the link using padding. Let's set it to 1 rem at the top and bottom sides. As for the right and left sides, the value is going to be 2 rem. Also change the color, make it white. Let's check the result. So button looks much better. Next, I'm going to make the button rounded using border radius. It's going to be 5 rem. Then let's change the font size, make it 1.6 rem. And also I'm going to place the text in the center using text align center. And finally we have to make the text uppercase using text transform with the value uppercase. Okay, so that's it. The button looks pretty nice. Actually, I'm going to create some space between the letters using letter spacing with value 0.1 rem. And the last thing that I'm going to do regarding button is to create a clicking effect. So for that we have to use pseudo class called active. We need read more link followed by the active pseudo class. Then we need transform, translate y, and the value is going to be 0.1 rem. Now, once I click, we'll get this nice and cool clicking effect. Alright, so that's it. We have successfully created and customized the news model box. Right now its data is hard-coded, so we have to replace this hard-coded data with the dynamic one. We have to grab the data from the selected article. Also, we have to manage opening and closing the model box once the user clicks the article and then closes model by clicking the X closing button. Now it's time to make our model functional. We will integrate it into our application so that when a user clicks on a news article, the model will display detailed information about that article. So let's get started. First, we need to add some state variables in our news.jsx file. So I'm going to create state variable. Let's call it show model. And then we need setter function, set show model. It should be equal to useState, and as the default value I'm going to use boolean false. Let's duplicate this line of code. The second state variable is going to be selected article, and then we need set selected article. As for the default value, it's going to be null. So the first state variable, which is a boolean value, will control whether the model is visible or not. Initially it's set to false because the model should be hidden when the application loads. As for the second state variable, it will store the details of the article that the user clicked on. Initially it's set to null because no article is selected when the application loads. Next, we need to create a function that will be called when a user clicks on an article. This function will set the selected article state to the clicked article and set show model to true to display the model box. So I'm going to create a new function. Let's call it handle article. It should be equal to an arrow function. As the parameter, I'm going to insert here article. Then, as I said, we have to set selected article to an article. And also we have to make the model box visible. Therefore, we have to set show model to true. So again, this function takes an article as an argument. When an article is clicked, it sets selected article to the clicked article and show model to true, making the model visible. Now we need to pass some props to the news model component. As you already know, in React, props, short for properties, are used to pass data and event handlers from a parent component to a child component. This allows the child component to access and use data or trigger functions defined in the parent component. As you know, we nested here news model component. So here we have it. The first prop that I'm going to insert here is going to be show. It should be equal to show model. The show prop is used to control the visibility of the model. When show model is true, the model will be displayed. When show model is false, the model will be hidden. Inside the news model components, we will check the value of the show prop to decide whether to render the model or not. This is typically done with a conditional rendering pattern, and we will see it in a minute. Next, I'm going to pass here another prop, and it's going to be article. Actually, we need here equal sign. As the value, I'm going to insert here selected article. So the article prop contains the details of the news article that we want to display in the model. This might include properties like the article's title, image, content, source, and the publication date. Inside the news model component, we will use the data from the article prop to populate the content of the model. By doing this, the model will dynamically display the details of the article passed to it. And finally, we have to pass here third prop, and it's going to be onClose. It should be equal to an arrow function. And then I'm going to set show model to false. So the onClose prop is used to handle the action of closing the model. When the user wants to close the model, for example by clicking a close button, this function will be called to update the state and hide the model. Inside the news model component, we will call the onClose function when the user interacts with the close button. By doing this, clicking the close button will trigger the onClose function, which in turn sets show model to false in the parent component, and it will cause the model to be hidden. Alright, so after that, we need to update the news model component. Let's open it. So as you can see, we have here a function, the component news model. Now I'm going to pass here curly braces and the three props that we passed in the news.js file, in the news model component. So the first one was show, then we had article, and then onClose. Now, inside this functional components, I'm going to use if statement. Let's write this statement and then I will explain. As the condition, I'm going to insert here not show, and then I'm going to return null. So the purpose of this code is to control the rendering of the model component. Essentially, it acts as a gatekeeper, determining whether or not the model should be displayed based on the value of show. The condition checks if show is false or if it is a false value. If show is true, not show becomes false. Conversely, if show is false, not show becomes true. If the condition is true, return null is executed. In React, returning null from a component's render method means render nothing. In other words, the component does not produce any HTML output, and therefore nothing is displayed on the screen for this component. So if we go to the browser, we'll see that the model is no longer visible. Now we need to manage displaying it once we click the headline or articles in the news grid. For that, we have to go back to the news.jsx file, and we have to add to the elements the onClick event handlers. So let's go ahead and find headline. Here we have it. I'm going to add here onClick event handler. Then I'm going to pass here an arrow function. And then we have to call handle article click. Actually, we need here handle article click, not handle article. So let's find the headline. Here we have it, handle article click. And as the argument, I'm going to insert here headline. Then let's copy this code. And we have to pass it for the news grid item. Let's insert here. And instead of headline, I'm going to insert article. So both of these lines of code are used as event handlers for the onClick event in React. They are assigned to elements such that when the element is clicked, the handle article click function is called with the corresponding argument, headline or article. The first line, I mean this line here, is used in the context of rendering a headline article. The arrow function here is used to define what should happen when the div is clicked. Instead of passing the handle article click function directly, which would execute immediately, we will wrap it in an arrow function to delay its execution until the click event occurs. Inside the arrow function, we call handle article click and we pass headline as the argument. This means that when the div is clicked, handle article click will be called with the headline object. The second line, I mean this line here, is used in the context of rendering individual news articles within a grid. Each article in the grid will have this click handler, similar to the previous example. The arrow function is used to delay the execution of handle article click until the div is clicked. Inside the arrow function, we call handle article click and pass article as the argument. This ensures that when any div is clicked, handle article click is called with the corresponding article object. Alright, so hopefully it is clear for you. Let's go ahead and test. If we click, then the model will be displayed. Actually, the close button is not working right now. So if I click article in the news grid, then the model will be displayed. Okay, so everything works fine for now. Next, we have to manage closing the model once we click the X closing button. As you remember, we passed onClose prop here inside the news model component. We have here onClose prop. It allows us to close the model because in the function we set setShowModel to false. So I'm going to go to the news model.jsx file and find the close button. Here we have it. And I'm going to insert here onClick event handler. And then we have to pass here onClose prop. Now let's go to the browser, open model, click X button, and here we go. The model is hidden. Okay, so now the next thing that we have to do is to change the content of the model box dynamically. We have to display the content of the selected headline or article. Right now we have here some hard-coded data. At first, I'm going to log in the console the article and see what it looks like. So let's open news.jsx file and find the handle article click function. So let's add here console.log and pass here article. Let's go to the browser, click article, then open console. So here we go. We have here an article with all the details. I mean content, description, image, the date of the publication, title, source, URL, and so on. All right. So now we have to use those details and replace the hard-coded data with the dynamic one. So to ensure that the model only renders content if an article is provided, we use a conditional rendering. So let's go to the news model.jsx file, and right after close button, I'm going to open curly braces and check if article exists or not. We need here AND operator. Then I'm going to open parentheses. And now I'm going to use React fragment, which is empty braces. I mean this one. Inside the React fragment, I'm going to insert these elements here. So let's grab all of them and paste them here. So this checks if article is not null or undefined before attempting to render the article details. This prevents errors that could occur if article is null or undefined. In React, a common scenario is to return multiple elements from a component. However, React components must return a single root element. To overcome this, we can use fragments, which allow us to group multiple elements without adding extra nodes to the DOM. Fragments are denoted using the React.fragment or the shorthand syntax, I mean those empty braces. They are useful for grouping a list of children without creating additional DOM elements like div or span, which can mess up the structure of your HTML and styling. Next, instead of using a hard-coded image source, we dynamically set the image source based on the article prop. So instead of this demo image, I'm going to insert here article.image. Then, as the value of the alt attribute, I'm going to open curly braces and use article.title. So we set the source of the image to the image property of the article object, and also we provide an alternative text for the image, enhancing accessibility and SEO. Next, we have to set dynamically the title of the model based on the article prop. So instead of this lorem ipsum text, I'm going to insert article.title. Then we have to render dynamically the source of the article using the article.source.name. So in this case, we have this hard-coded source of the article. I'm going to open curly braces and then use article.source.name. Let's open the console. So as you can see, we have here source and then name. We are using those properties here. All right, so next comes the interesting part. I mean the date of the publication of the article. We have to format and render it dynamically. So let's go ahead and get rid of this hard-coded date. Then I'm going to open curly braces and we need new date. Then in the parentheses, I'm going to insert here article.published at. This is again the property of the object. Here we have published at, and we have to format this value. So I'm going to add here a built-in method called toLocal string, and as the value I'm going to insert here en us. Then as the second argument we need an object in which we have to format month, day, year, hour, and minute. Let's start with the month. I'm going to add to those properties the values and then I will explain everything. So we need here short. Then the next one is day. And I'm going to add here 2 digit. Next we have year. And it's going to be numeric. Then I'm going to add here hour, and it's going to be again 2 digit. Actually, we need 2 digit. And finally, we have minutes, which is going to be again 2 digit. Okay, so before we move on and take care of the paragraph, I'm going to check if everything works correctly so far. So as you can see, we have here an image of the article, the title. The source is changed. Also, we have updated date. Everything works fine. Before we move on to the paragraph, I'm going to explain how this code works. So the new date creates a new date object using the article.publish.string. This converts the string into a data object that JavaScript can manipulate. Then we have toLocalString function. It is a method on the date object that converts the date into a string, formatted according to the specified locale and options. So the value en us is the local parameter specifying that the date should be formatted according to US English conventions. This object specifies the formatting options for the toLocalString method. Month has short. This option formats the month as a short abbreviation. For example, Jan is for January. Then we have day with the value 2-digit. This option formats the day as a 2-digit number. For example, 01 for the first day of the month. Then we have year with the value numeric. This option formats the year as a numeric value, for example, 2024. Next we have hour, again with the value 2-digit. This option formats the hour as a 2-digit number, for example, 03 for 3 p.m. And finally we have minute with the same value, 2-digit. This option formats the minute as a 2-digit number, for example, 03 for 3 minutes past the hour. Alright, so next we have paragraph with the model content text. I'm going to get rid of this hard-coded text, and instead of that I'm going to insert here article dot content. And finally we have to customize the link. So here instead of the pound sign I'm going to open curly braces and insert article URL. Then I'm going to add here two more attributes. The first one is target with the value blank. We need underscore blank. And then we have rel equal to no opener and no referrer. So the value of the hReference attribute is article.url. It's the hyperlink reference to the URL property of that article object. Next we have target blank. It opens the link in a new tab in the browser. As for the rel with these values, it is a security feature that prevents the new page from accessing the window.opener property and ensures that the new page runs in a separate process. Okay, let's go ahead and check the results. I'm going to open the article. So as you can see, we have here the dynamic data. The content of the paragraph is changed. Also, if I click read more button, then we'll navigate to the link which will display the actual article and you are able to read the entire article. Alright, so everything works fine, and actually with the model box we are done. So great job everyone, we have successfully integrated our model box into the news and blogs application. Now when a user clicks on a news article, a detailed model pops up with more information. This makes our application more interactive and user-friendly. We'll be creating a brand new component for bookmarks. This will allow us to save and display our favorite news articles in a dedicated section. We'll start by setting up the component and then proceed to add some hard-coded JSX content. Finally, we'll focus on customizing and styling our bookmarks model to make it look great. So let's get started and bring our bookmarks feature to life. First of all, I'm going to create a new component in the components folder. Let's call it bookmarks.css. Actually not CSS, but JSX. At first we need JSX extension. So here I'm going to create a functional component using an RAFCE shortcut. So here we have the functional component. Then let's go to the news.jsx file and import here the newly created component. Let's duplicate this line of code and change the name of the component. We need bookmarks. And then down below we have to nest these components like we did it in case of news model. So here I'm going to nest bookmarks component. Actually we need here capital B. Alright, so the bookmarks component is nested in the news.jsx file. Let's go back to the bookmarks.jsx and start to create the JSX content. I'm going to get rid of this text and then let's add a new class name to the div element. It's going to be model overlay. Actually, I used this class in the news model.jsx file. We have here model overlay. So we will be using some of these classes in the bookmarks.jsx file as well. Then I'm going to create the CSS file where we will insert the common styles, and then we'll connect this CSS file to both components. So inside model overlay, I'm going to open another div, and it's going to be model content. And then inside the model content, I'm going to open span element with the class name close button. And in here, I'm going to insert I element with the classes FA solid, FA X mark. Okay, let's go to the browser. So as you can see, we have here bookmarks component, and it has some styles, and it looks already good. So as I said, I'm going to create new CSS file, and I'm going to call it model.css. Then let's open news model CSS file and grab these three elements. I'm going to cut them, and I'm going to insert them here. Then we have to connect this CSS file to both components, I mean bookmarks and news model. So we need here import, that's insert here model.css. I'm going to copy this line of code, and let's paste it here as well. Okay, so now we have the same result. Next, I'm going to continue adding here the JSX content. So next we need h2 heading elements with the class name bookmarks heading. And as the value, I'm going to insert here bookmarked news. After h2 heading element, we need div, which is going to be bookmarks list. And inside the div element, I'm going to open another div. It's going to be bookmark item. So in here, we need an image. And as the source, I'm going to use demo image that we used a couple of times in the previous lectures. We need here demo image from assets folder, then we need images folder, and we have to specify the name of the image, demo.jpg. Now, as the source value, I'm going to insert here demo image, and then let's change the value of the out attribute. It's going to be bookmark image. So here we have the image. All right, so after image, I'm going to insert here h3 heading element. So I'm going to remind you the content of the bookmarks model box. Actually, we need bookmarks. So as you can see, each news item consists of an image, the heading, I mean the title of the article, and then X deleting button. So we have here image, then we need h3 heading element, which is going to be the title. So I'm going to insert some hard-coded text using lorem ipsum. Let's insert here 10 words. And then after h3 heading element, I'm going to open span element with the class name delete button. And then I'm going to insert here I element with the classes FA regular, then FA circle X mark. Let's check the results. So we have here image, title, and the delete button. Okay, so I'm going to duplicate bookmark item twice. And then we are ready to start the styling. So we have here 3 bookmark items, and we have to customize these elements. So I'm going to create new CSS file for bookmarks. Let's call it bookmarks.css. Then I'm going to move this file to the right side. Let's close those CSS files. Also, I'm going to close these files as well. So I'm going to add here some styles. Let's start with the image because right now it is too big. So let's go ahead and select bookmark item followed by the image. So first of all, let's define width and height. It's going to be 7 rem. Then I'm going to fit the image using object fit cover. Also, let's make it rounded using border radius 0.8 rem. And finally, we need margin on the right side. Let's set it to 1 rem. So the images are not styled. Actually, we need to link the CSV file here. So I'm going to import bookmarks.css. Now the style should be applied. Well, we have here the same problem. Let's check the class name. So we need here bookmark. Let's delete R. So finally, the image is styled. Next, I'm going to customize the heading of the bookmarks model. So let's insert here bookmarks heading. I'm going to change the font family. It's going to be Bebas Neue sans serif. Then I'm going to increase the font size. Let's set it to 3 rem. Also change the font weight. We need lighter font weight. So let's set it to 300. Also change the color, make it DDD. Then I'm going to increase space between the letters using letter spacing. Let's set it to 0.1 rem. And finally, we need margin at the bottom to create some space. Let's set margin bottom to 2 rem. Okay, so the heading looks pretty nice. Next, we have to customize the bookmarks list, which includes those 3 items. So I'm going to select bookmarks list. And I'm going to align the items using flexbox. We need display flex. Then we have to align the items vertically in a column. So we need flex direction to be column. And then create gap equal to 1 rem. All right, after that, let's select bookmark item. First of all, I'm going to use again flexbox. We need display flex because we have to align elements inside the bookmark item horizontally in a row. So we need here display flex, then align item center to align the items in the center vertically. Then I'm going to use justify content with the value space between. It will create some space between the flex items. Next, I'm going to create some gap using column gap with the value 2 rem. And finally, we need cursor pointer. So as you can see, the bookmark items are aligned nicely. Let's go ahead and customize the headings. So I'm going to select bookmark item followed by the H3 heading element. Let's set font family to Comforta sans serif. Then we need font size. It's going to be 1.5 rem. Then I'm going to change the color. Let's set it to white. And I'm going to make the font bold. Actually, we need font weight to be bold. Let's check the results. All right, so that's it about the heading element. Next, I'm going to customize the delete button. So let's go ahead and select delete button. I'm going to set font size to 2.4 rem. Then we need color. And the color is going to be B88EFC. Then we need cursor pointer. Okay, so as you can see, the delete buttons look pretty nice. And actually with the styling of bookmarks model box, we are done. So we have successfully created and customized our bookmarks model. Now we have a dedicated space in our application to display our favorite news articles. We will add the ability to bookmark articles and display them in a model. This will provide users with a more interactive and engaging experience. We'll go through each step in detail, ensuring you understand how and why we implement each piece of code. So let's get started. First, we need to initialize a state to store our bookmarks in news.jsx file. This will allow us to keep track of which articles are bookmarked. So right after here, I'm going to create new state variable, and it's going to be bookmarks. Then we need an updater function, set bookmarks. It's going to be equal to useState, and as a default value, I'm going to pass here an empty array. Let's duplicate this line of code. We need second state variable, and it's going to be show bookmarks model, and then we need set show bookmarks model. In this case, the default value is going to be a Boolean value, and I'm going to insert here false. Okay, so the bookmark state variable is crucial for managing the user's bookmarked articles. When a user clicks the bookmark icon on any news article, that article gets added to this array. Conversely, if the user decides to remove a bookmarked article, it gets removed from this array. Essentially, bookmarks acts as a dynamic storage for all the articles the user has marked as favorites. And then we have here the second state variable. The show bookmarks model state variable controls the visibility of the bookmarks model. This is essential for providing a user-friendly way to access and manage bookmarks. When the user clicks on the bookmarks link in the category section, this state variable is set to true, displaying the model. When the user closes the model, this variable is set back to false. Now we need to create a function that will handle the click event on the bookmark icon. This function will add or remove articles from the bookmarks list and toggle the icon class. So we need here to create a new function, and I'm going to call it handle bookmark click. It's going to be an arrow function, and as the parameter, I'm going to insert here article. So again, the function takes one parameter, article, which represents the news article that the user wants to bookmark or remove from bookmarks. So inside that function, I'm going to update bookmarks state variable. Therefore, we need to call set bookmarks function. Inside that function, I'm going to insert a callback function with the parameter pref bookmarks. So this line calls the set bookmarks function, which is used to update the state variable bookmarks. Set bookmarks takes a callback function as an argument. The callback function receives the previous state, pref bookmarks, as its argument. This ensures that the state update is based on the most recent state, which is crucial in asynchronous environments where multiple updates can occur. Next, we have to check whether the article is already in the bookmarks and updates the bookmark state accordingly. So inside the function, I'm going to create a new variable, and it's going to be updated bookmarks. It should be equal to pref bookmarks dot find. I will write the code and then I will explain everything. So the find method will take a callback function as an argument, in which we have to pass argument bookmark. And now we need to return bookmark dot title equal to article dot title. So this line uses find method to search the previous bookmarks array for an article with the same title as the one being clicked. The find method is used to locate the first element in an array that satisfies a specified condition. It takes a callback function as an argument, which is executed on each element of the array until the condition is met. Once an element satisfying the condition is found, the find method returns that element and stops further execution. If no such element is found, it returns undefined. The find method iterates over the elements of an array and applies the provided callback function to each element. The callback function should return a Boolean value indicating whether the element meets the specified condition. it stops and returns the first element that makes the callback function return true. So if the element is found, it means that the article is already bookmarked, and if not found, the article is not in the bookmarks yet. Next, we need here a ternary operator, and the first option is going to be prep bookmarks dot filter. Then we need here a callback function with argument bookmark, and here we have to return bookmark dot title not equals to article dot title. So this is the first option. Then we need colon, and then array pref bookmarks followed by an article. Alright, so this ternary operator decides what to do based on whether the article was found in the bookmarks. If found, I mean if the condition is true, then we create a new array that excludes the clicked article. It uses the filter method to include only those articles whose title does not match the clicked article's title. That's why we use here bookmark.title not equals to article.title. The filter method is used to create a new array containing all elements that meet a specified condition. Like find, it also takes a callback function as an argument, which is executed on each element of the array. However, instead of stopping after finding the first match, filter continues to test all elements and returns a new array containing all the elements that satisfy the condition. If no elements match, it returns an empty array. The filter method iterates over the elements of an array and applies the provided callback function to each element. The callback function should return a Boolean value indicating whether the element meets the specified condition or not. It collects all elements that make the callback function return true and returns them in a new array. If not found, if the condition is false, then we create a new array that includes all the previous bookmarks, I mean prep bookmarks, plus the new article. That's why we use here prep bookmarks followed by an article, and actually we have here a type O, we need article. The spread operator, I mean these three dots, is used to concatenate the existing bookmarks with the new one. Now the next thing that we have to do is to return that updated bookmarks. So this line of code returns the updated bookmarks array from the callback function. The returned value becomes the new state for the bookmarks array. This ensures that the bookmark state variable is updated correctly based on whether the article was added or removed. So in summary, the handle bookmark click function manages the addition and removal of articles from the bookmarks. It updates the bookmark state based on whether the article is already bookmarked. It checks if the article is already bookmarked. If it is bookmarked, then it removes it from the bookmarks array. If it is not bookmarked, then it adds it to the bookmarks array. And finally, it updates the bookmark state with the new array. Alright, so hopefully you understand what's going on in this function. Now we have to take care of the bookmarks icon. Once the user clicks the bookmarks icon, they should transform into the solid bookmarks. And actually we need to change here the icon into solid one. So we need to make the class names of the phonosome icons dynamic. We should apply either FA solid or FA regular based on a condition. As for the second and third parts of the classes of the I element, I mean FA bookmark and bookmark, they are static classes and are always applied. So by default we have FA regular. If the user clicks the icon, then we should change FA regular into FA solid. Alright, so here we have the headline and its bookmark icon. Now I'm going to wrap the class names with curly braces, and then instead of quotes I'm going to use template literal. So I'm going to insert here $sign followed by the curly braces. Then we need bookmarks dot method called sum. Then we need here callback function, which will take an argument bookmark, and then we have to return bookmark dot title equal to article dot title. Then we need a ternary operator, and the first option is going to be FA solid. As for the second option, it's going to be FA regular. We need here quotes. So now we have FA regular, which we no longer need here. Let's delete it. As for the FA bookmark and bookmark, they are static classes and we don't touch them. So here we used the sum method, which checks if at least one element in the bookmarks array meets the condition specified in the callback function. So in general, the sum method is a built-in function in JavaScript that allows you to test whether at least one element in an array meets a specified condition. The sum method takes a callback function as an argument and applies it to each element of the array. The callback function should return a Boolean value, true or false, based on a condition you specify. The sum method returns true if the callback function returns true for at least one element in the array. If the callback function returns false for all elements, the sum method returns false. So in our example, the callback function compares the title of each bookmark with the title of the current article. If an article with the same title exists in the bookmarks, it returns true. If no matching article is found, it returns false. This condition helps us determine if the current article is already bookmarked. The ternary operator chooses between two values based on the condition. If the article is bookmarked, then FA solid class is applied, making the icon solid. If the article is not bookmarked, the FA regular class is applied, making the icon regular or outlined. Now we have to add onClick event handler to the icon. So I'm going to add here onClick. Let's open curly braces and insert here a callback function with an event object. So the first thing that I'm going to do here is to add a function called stop propagation, and I will explain what this function does. So we need here e.stop propagation, and also we need handle bookmark click with the argument headline, because right now we are working on headline. Okay, so here stop propagation is a method that prevents the event from bubbling up to parent elements. We use stop propagation to ensure that clicking the bookmark icon only triggers the bookmark functionality and does not trigger any parent elements click events, like opening the article model. Alright, so now the same thing we need in the news grid. So I'm going to grab this element, then find the I element in the news grid item and replace it with this code. Now here, instead of headline, we need article. Alright, so now we have to pass a couple of different props to the bookmarks component here in the news.jsx file. Right now, by default, the bookmarks model box is displayed. We have to make it hidden by default, and we have to open it once we click the bookmarks link here in the categories. So in order to test those things, let's go ahead and add here a couple of different props. The first one is going to be show, and it should be equal to show bookmarks model. Then we need here bookmarks. I'm going to insert all the props and then I will explain everything. So the value of bookmarks prop is going to be bookmarks. Then the next one is going to be onClose, and it should be equal to an arrow function in which we have to update show bookmarks model, and we have to make it false. Next, I'm going to insert here on select article, and it's going to be equal to handle article click function. The next and the last prop here is going to be on delete bookmark, and it's going to be equal to handle bookmark click. Alright, so here we have 5 different props. The first one is show, which is equal to show bookmarks model. This prop determines whether the bookmarks model should be visible or not. The show bookmarks model state variable is a boolean that controls the visibility of the bookmarks component. When show bookmarks model is true, the bookmarks model will be displayed. When it is false, the model will be hidden. This prop is essential for toggling the model's visibility based on user interactions. Next we have bookmarks. This prop provides the list of bookmarked articles to the bookmarks component. The bookmark state variable is an array that holds the list of articles that the user has bookmarked. This prop is passed to bookmarks component so it can display the bookmarked articles. The bookmarks component uses the array to render each bookmarked article within the model. Next we have onClose, which includes the callback function with setShowBookmarksModel function, and it is set to false. So this prop is a function that handles closing the bookmarks model. The onClose prop is a callback function that gets called when the user wants to close the model. The function sets the showBookmarksModel state to false, which hides the model. This prop ensures that the bookmarks component can notify the parent component, in this case news, to close the model when needed. Next we have onSelectArticle, which is equal to handleArticleClick function. So this prop is a function that handles the selection of a bookmarked article. The onSelectArticle prop is a callback function that gets called when the user clicks on a bookmarked article within the model. The function handleArticleClick is defined on the parent component, news, and it's used to handle the logic when an article is clicked. By passing this function to the bookmarks component, you allow the component to inform the parent which article was selected, enabling actions such as displaying the article's details in a model. Next we have onDeleteBookmark, which is equal to handleBookmarkClick. So this prop is a function that handles the removal of an article from the bookmarks. The onDeleteBookmark prop is a callback function that gets called when the user wants to remove an article from the bookmarks. The function handleBookmarkClick is defined in the parent component and is used to handle the logic for adding or removing bookmarks. By passing this function to the bookmarks component, you enable the component to manage bookmark deletions, ensuring that when a bookmark is removed, the parent component updates the state accordingly. So in summary, by passing these props to the bookmarks component, you ensure that it has all the necessary data and functions to operate correctly within the context of your news component. These props allow the bookmarks component to display the bookmarked articles, handle user interactions such as selecting an article or deleting a bookmark, and control the visibility of the model. After that, we have to program the bookmarks link in the navbar. I'm in the last nav link in the categories. I'm in this link element here. So we need to pass here an onClick event handler. Actually, we need here camel case. So now I'm going to insert here a callback function, which will return set show bookmarks model, and it's going to be true. And also I'm going to change this class name. We need FA solid by default. That was my mistake at the beginning. All right, so now we have to update the bookmarks component. Let's go to the bookmarks.jsx file. And here we have to do a couple of different things. First of all, we need to insert here the props that we passed in the bookmarks component in the news.jsx file. We need here show. Then the next one was bookmarks. Then onClose. Next we have onSelectArticle. And finally onDeleteBookmark. So these are the props from this component here. 5 props, and we passed them here. All right, so now I'm going to insert here if statement. It's going to be the similar if statement that we used in case of news model.jsx component. It's going to be the similar. So we need here if statement with the condition not show. If it is true, then we have to return null. So the purpose of this code is to control the rendering of the bookmarks component. The condition checks if show is false or if it is a false value. If show is true, not show becomes false. Conversely, if show is false, then not show becomes true. If the condition is true, return null is executed. In React, returning null from a component's render method means render nothing. In other words, the component does not produce any HTML output and therefore nothing is displayed on the screen for this component. Now, let's find span element here. I'm at the closing button. I'm going to insert here onClick event handler. And then we have to pass here onClose prop. Now, finally, I'm going to test in the browser how the code works. So if we click bookmarks, then we'll get model displayed. If we click X closing button, it will hide. All right, so everything works fine so far. Right now, we have 3 hard-coded bookmark items here, and we have to replace the hard-coded data with the dynamic one. So I'm going to get rid of those 2 bookmark items from here. And then I'm going to insert here curly braces. We need bookmarks array dot map method. Then we need here a callback function with 2 parameters. The first one is going to be article. As for the second one, it's going to be index. So we use here a map function to iterate over the bookmarks array to render each bookmarked article. As you know, bookmarks is an array of article objects that have been bookmarked by the user. The map function iterates over each element in the bookmarks array. For each article in the array, the map function should return a JSX block that renders the article's details. Index is the current index of the article in the array, and it's going to be used as a unique key. So we need here parentheses, and I'm going to grab the entire bookmark item, paste it here. Then we need key prop with the div element, and it's going to be index. And also we need to add here onClick event handler. I'm going to pass here a callback function, which will return onSelect article prop, and as the argument I'm going to insert here article. So React requires a unique key for each element in an array to efficiently update the DOM. Here the index is used as the key, and also we attach to the div element onClick event handler. When the div is clicked, the onSelect article function, this function, is called with the current article as an argument. This function handles displaying the full article details in a model, and now we have to change the details dynamically. Right now we have hard-coded data. So instead of demo image, I'm going to insert here article.image. Then we need error handling. If for some reason there is no image, we have to display no image. Then we need to change the value of alt attribute, and it's going to be article.title. So again, we set here the image source to the article's image URL. If the article doesn't have an image, it falls back to a placeholder image, in this case no image. As for the alt attribute, we set the alt text for the image to the article's title, improving accessibility. Next we have here h3 heading element, which includes the lorem ipsum text. Let's get rid of it and insert here article.title. As for the delete button, we need to pass here onClick event handler. It should be equal to a callback function with an event object. Then again, we need here to use e.stop_propagation function, and then we need onDelete bookmark prop with the argument article. So here we attach onClick event handler to the span. Then we use again stop propagation function, which prevents the click event from bubbling up to the parent div. This ensures that clicking the delete button doesn't trigger the onSelect article function. Next we call onDelete bookmark prop function with the current article as an argument to remove the article from bookmarks. Alright, so I think that everything is ready. Let's go to the browser and check if everything works fine. So I'm going to click bookmark icon, and now we have here the error. We have here a reference error. Article is not defined. Let's go ahead and find this line of code in news.jsx file. Let's go to the news.jsx file and find 138. So here the article is not defined because we need to insert here headline, not the article, because it's the headline part. So we need headline. I think this will fix our issue. Let's click the icon and here we go. So now it works fine. Let's open bookmarks model and we have here those 4 saved news articles. Let's delete. So as you can see, everything works perfectly. Alright, so we have successfully made the bookmarks part of our news and blogs application functional. Users can now bookmark articles and view them in a dedicated model. We will enhance this functionality by adding local storage support so that bookmarks persist even after refreshing the page or closing and reopening the browser. Right now, if we save the articles, then refresh the page and open bookmarks model, it will be empty. So we will save the bookmarked news in the local storage. So when you refresh the page or close and reopen the browser, the saved articles will be here. Saving bookmarks in the local storage. This will ensure that our users' bookmarked articles persist even when they refresh the page or close and reopen the browser. If we take a look at the finished project and check bookmark section, you will see that it is empty right now. Let's go ahead and save some of the articles. So as you can see, we have here the saved bookmarked articles. Now, if I refresh the page and check again bookmarks, you'll find the saved articles. Alright, so before we dive into the code, let's take a moment to understand what local storage is. Local storage is a web storage feature that allows you to store data in the browser with no expiration date. This means that the data persists even after the browser is closed and reopened. It is a key-value storage system where both the key and value are strings. Local storage has several advantages. It provides persistence because data stored in local storage doesn't expire and will persist even after the browser is closed. It also has a decent capacity, allowing you to store up to 5 megabytes of data, which is sufficient for most use cases. And additionally, it is simple to use with a straightforward API. In most modern browsers, you can inspect the local storage through the developer tools. In the developer tools, you can find application in Google Chrome or storage in Firefox. Under application, you can look for local storage and then click this URL. So as you can see, we have here blogs and bookmarks. If we click bookmarks, then you will find down below an array which includes all 4 bookmarked or saved articles. Again, as you can see, the stored bookmarks and blogs are represented with key value pairs. Now let's move on to modifying our bookmarks part to add the local storage feature. So we will start by updating our handle bookmark function in the news.jsx file. So here we have handle bookmark click function, and I'm going to add here the following code: local storage dot set item. Then we need bookmarks. Then we need JSON dot stringify, and we have to pass here updated bookmarks. So let me explain and break down this code. Local storage is a built-in JavaScript object that allows you to store data persistently in a web browser. Data stored in local storage is not deleted when the browser is closed. The setItem method, this method here, takes 2 arguments, a key and a value. It stores the value associated with the specified key in local storage. In this case, bookmarks is the key under which we will store our bookmarks data. It acts as an identifier to retrieve the data later. Since local storage can only store strings, we need to convert our JavaScript array or object into a string format, and this is where JSON.stringify comes in. This method takes a JavaScript object or array and converts it into a JSON string. In our case, updated bookmarks is the array containing our bookmarks. It could have been updated by adding a new bookmark, removing an existing one, or any other modification. By converting updated bookmarks to a JSON string and storing it in local storage, we ensure that our bookmarks are saved and can be retrieved later. By saving the updated bookmarks to local storage, every time a change is made, we ensure that the user's changes are not